believe we are live. Let me know if you can see and hear me in the chat. Seems like we're streaming. It's Friday night. It's January 23rd. What's going on? Well, nothing much. So I said, let's do a stream, live stream. I was going to post a video, but, you know, there's not enough news. Let me know if you can see me and hear me in the chat. We got New York Jets superfan. What's up? We got Braden. He's a member of Frankie's Inner Circle, and you should join Frankie's Inner Circle. We got Phil Adams. Friday is Frankie Day. Let me know if you can hear and see me okay in the chat, so that way I'll know. One thing I should do is open this doc. Hickory dickory. Doc, where's the doc? Oh. Here's the control panel, but why isn't it coming up? We're not getting any information. Phil Adams says audio-visual 100%. Okay, all right, we got it. This control panel seems to be malfunctioning, as usual. Alan Doge is here, the Dodester. He's a member of the Inner Circle as well, and a former graduate of SUNY New Paltz, right here. Right here. We got it. We got it. We got it. Sean McAteer is right here. Why isn't this control panel coming up? I don't know. You just closed a dockable. Okay, let's try it again. Docs, YouTube live control panel. That's what we want. To get started, select stream. I want to select this stream. We're already here. Excellent. Okay, there we go. Now we got some numbers. Braden says audio-visual 100. All right. Well, this is a Friday night hang, so it's kind of like a whatever session. I was thinking maybe you guys would want to do a mock draft. I don't know. Tell me if you want to do a mock draft in the chat. Let me know in the chat if you want to do a mock draft. If you're interested in mock drafting, or if you have other questions, concerns, what's going on in the league is that the coaching circle and cycle is going round and round and round. We're getting news now as of 25 minutes ago from Dane Brugler. Go. I'm told no Ruben Bain or D'Angelo Pons in the Senior Bowl. So that's two names that could be targets of the Jets. Not going to be at the Senior Bowl. The Jets have two coaches at the Senior Bowl this year. He says, not a big shock considering how late their seasons went, but still a bummer. So no Ruben Bain and no D'Angelo Pons in the Senior Bowl. Those could be future Jets. As of 4 minutes ago, we have breaking news. Adam Schefter reporting from a source. The Miami Dolphins are hiring former Bills special teams coordinator Chris Tabor as their special teams coordinator. They stole him. An in-division move. So Chris Tabor goes from the Bolognians down to the Dolphinians. And, of course, the news today was that the Buffalo Bills have interviewed none other than Philip Rivers. No experience coaching other than at the high school level, and they're automatically interviewing him for head coach, not even starting him at quarterback coach. Kind of like what I want to do with Chad Pennington. Nope, Philip Rivers goes right for the head coach interview. So make of it what you will. Joe Flacco says he's willing to play for the Steelers to complete the division tour in 2026. So old Joe Flacco wants to keep going. Why Why not? Keep collecting the paychecks. They're willing to write them. The Falcons have completed an interview with Mike Bradway. I wonder if he's related to the other Bradway that worked for the Jets. So that seems to be the latest and greatest. Oh, no, we got more news. Dolphins are hiring Kyle Smith as their assistant GM per source. Smith, who most recently held the same position title in Atlanta, is a respected evaluator. Another big addition to Miami's staff. So there you go. People are filling out their staffs. And the Jets are omerta silencio, no information whatsoever. So Jets superfan says, yes, yes. Mocking's what we do best. Bill's interviewing Phillip Rivers. Is that just doing Rivers a favor? No, I think he's a real candidate from what we can tell. Somehow he's never coached in the NFL before, but now all of a sudden he gets to be a head coach candidate. Well, Braden, this is what I was going to say. If we want to do a mock draft, we have to make some free agent decisions before we can do the mock draft. So we'd have to agree to some basic facts, like who did we sign in free agency, the big basics, the quarterback, linebackers, mainly the quarterback, though. Like, did we get to sign a big-time, wide receiver like Alec Pierce? Probably not. Romeo Doubs? Maybe. If we sign Romeo Doubs, for example, we're probably not taking a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. Karate. Here. Alan Dodds. Yeah, I think he will be, Alan. I'm going to try to move this down. Let's see something. Let's move this over here. Move this over here. Move this over. Nope. Move this over here. This over here. That works a little better. So I'm using the Spotrac as a baseline. And the problem with Malik Willis, who's going to give him big money? He has 6 games started in his life in the NFL. So somebody's going to want to sign him for sure, but, what's the max he's going to make? 15? Who's going to go crazy with Malik Willis money-wise when he has 6 games started? Now, you never know. This is the NFL, but I was using Spotrac's numbers as a baseline. So I think so. So the way you could structure it is you could make it a 2-year deal worth 30, but only 12 or 13 is guaranteed. So it looks like a $30 million deal for him. That's good for the agent. The headline is good, and they actually care about that. But it's not that much. Well, let me just make sure I'm pulling up Spotrac now. Zach Wilson, Malik. Yeah, I was right. That's right. So I gave him even more, Dodes. Spotrac says he's on pace to make 10.5. Now, it doesn't mean Spotrac's right, but at least it's some source that has a model that knows what these guys could get. So they gave him 10.5. I gave him 12. That's the Jets tax. 12, 13. We'd probably go up to 15, to be honest. But that's based on something, Doge. Yes was for the mock draft. Yep. Okay, so maybe we'll do a mock draft here. Won't the Miami Packers sign Romeo Doubs? Well, Doge again. They have problems. They got problems. Their problems are that they have cap space issues, very big ones. Now, they can move money around and they'll be in better shape. But the question is, what are they really going to do with regard to resetting the franchise? They're in bad shape. The roster's in bad shape, and they have cap problems. That's a terrible place to be. So are they going to take a step back so they can move forward, or are they going to keep, half-stepping it, And a lot of that's going to depend on what they do with Tua. But they have cap problems, and then they have no quarterback as of now. Now, they could go after Malik also. That's also the speculation, obviously the Green Bay connection there. But I would have the same argument I would make the same argument to the agents of both of these players. The Jets is the best opportunity for your client, both Willis and Dobbs. With Dobbs, you could be 1A or 1B with Garrett Wilson, and if we sign Malik Willis, we say, and you get your quarterback, Malik Willis, over here. Malik Willis is the same thing. Look, we're going to sign Romeo Dobbs. You got Garrett Wilson. You got a running game. You got a decent offensive line, some good tight ends. This is the best place for you to be. Miami doesn't have any of that. Miami has no tight ends. They have one really good receiver, Waddle. What are they going to do with Tyreek Hill? They got cap problems. They do have a good running back in Achane, but their offensive line is shoddy, and they have one receiver. Why is that a good situation for him? He needs to prove that he can be a good starting quarterback, so he needs the best circumstances he can find, along with a good contract, around him. So it's the same argument I would make for all these people. Just because people worked in Green Bay doesn't mean they're going to bring in all these Green Bay people. They might, but we'll see what they do. If they're smart, they'll take a step back to figure out what the hell they're doing and rebuild it. They need kind of like a year zero. They need to figure out what they're doing with Tua. That's a terrible contract. So they got a lot of problems in Miami. So we'll see how they go about it. It could be that they bring those guys in, but I think we got a decent chance. Willis will make more than 15. Well, you don't know that. I mean, based on what, Superfan? Just your brain? I'm using something that's showing me 10.5. That's a fairly reliable source. Doesn't mean it's always right, but at least it's based on something. They have a model. It says 10.5 right here. What are you basing it on? Your own guess? Give me a source. I mean, we got to use some kind of sources. Spot Track says he's going to make 10.5. And you think about it, he's only started 6 games. Who's going to go crazy for a guy who started 6 games? 15 is a good amount for a gamble. He's a gamble. Moving in silence. It's probably both, Phil. We got to wait for Leonard for sure. Next week we'll interview Jim Leonard, and then depending on if we want to give him the job, if we're going to give him the job and he wants to accept the job, then we got to wait till the Super Bowl's over to announce that. So that kind of sucks. But certainly we're waiting to interview him until after this weekend. As soon as this weekend's games end, then next week we'll interview Leonard. And then if it's anybody but him, we'll announce who it is. If it's him, then it'll have to wait till after the Super Bowl. Dode says fair. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get him. I'm saying we got a shot. It's not none of these things are foregone conclusions. Dolphins have a lot of problems to deal with, and they don't have a great environment as of right now. You're going to have to convince the agent, and the agent is David Mulugeta, the best agent in football. So you're not going to pull the wool over that motherfucker's eyes, okay? Now, he does get good contracts for his clients, but 15, say, is a good deal for Malik, where he needs to prove himself over a full season. Now, once he puts in a full season, and if we want him, yeah, we're going to have to pay a lot more. But that's a different story. He needs his Sam Darnold year. When Sam Darnold had his year for the Vikings, that showed everybody, okay, this is what this kid can be. And then he got a nice deal with the Seahawks. Malik Willis needs to do the same. He needs to put in a full season where he performs very well. And then, yes, then he's going to get a big, big deal. But for now, I would think 15 is a great deal for him with 6 games started in his career. Phil Adams, Dodes, Jets need some in-division wins. Tearing down, yeah, right. We could use it, but I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but it's we'll have to see. Their big decision, of course, is Tua and that stupid contract that they gave him. So they might be willing to eat it. They might not. I don't know what they're going to do. Remember, Tua, Willis, and Deshaun Watson are all David Mulugeta clients. So if they decide to keep Tua, Willis is not going to go there. I don't think. I'd be very surprised because Mulugeta is not going to put one of his clients in front of another one of his clients to block them. That's not good agenting. So, and same thing with the Browns. I don't think Willis is going to the Browns because I think in Mulugeta's view and Watson's view, it's Watson's job to win and hold on to there in Cleveland and show he can be a franchise quarterback going forward. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying in the mind of himself and the agent, that's what they want. So the agent's not going to put Willis there to block Watson because he wants all of his clients to be successful. And so he's going to need to find a spot for Willis where he can be successful and where Tua can be successful and Watson can be successful. And that's good for everybody, including the agency, which is athletes first. Mark Sachatti here. Superfan Yahoo Sports says Jets and Dolphins are going to be in for Malik. They say 2 years, 40. All right. Let's look at Yahoo. Now, who has a better track record of being right on contract, Spot Track or Yahoo? Now, let's see if I can find this article you're talking about. Sports. Because, my mom said, trust no one, including me. So you'll forgive me if I don't trust you there, Superfan. We don't even know your real name. How can I trust you? Let's see. Stidham, Mendoza, Ravens. Not seeing it. Ravens, Chiefs, Bieniemy, Rams, McDaniel. I'm not seeing anything about Malik Willis. Sometimes they do bury things on Yahoo, though. Tom Brady says Fernando Mendoza has a bright future. No kidding. Browns. I'm not seeing anything. Maybe I'll do a search. But anyway, all right, say it is 20. That seems like a lot to me. But let's say that's what it is. Jets can do it better than the Malik Willis. The Jets can do that easier than the Dolphins can. Malik Willis, they bring up his stats. So it doesn't bring up any kind of articles. So let's say they're right. Let's say he blows it out of the water, gets 20 a year. Okay. I think that's too much, but, hey, bidding wars and everything else. So what? The Jets can afford it. The Jets can afford it way better than the Dolphins can, and we have much better infrastructure in place. So, and then if they go crazy on their 20, so let's say they give him 20. They want to give him 20. All right. Well, their dead cap for Tua is insane. And their cap for Tua, let's look up Tua's contract, just so we understand. Are you really going to pay 20 on top of Tua? Let's look up Tua so we understand what we're talking about here. Tua Tagovailoa. Let's take a look, shall we? 2026. You know what his dead cap is? $99 million. His dead cap, I'm looking at it right here, is $99.2 million. That's his dead cap if you get rid of his ass. And I'm sure they could spread it out and make it a little more palatable. His cap hit is 56.4. And with the way they treated him, benching him and all that, he's not going to redo his contract. So if they get rid of him, it's $99 million. $99 million. So they're not, okay, say they don't get rid of him. Okay, let's keep him. Okay, that's $56 million. And then you're going to pay another $20 million to Willis? That's $76 million for the quarterback position, and you got Tua and a guy who's played 6 games. Does that make any sense? Now, maybe they cut him and they split, they do a post June 1st, but it's still going to be a huge amount of money for the quarterback room, no matter what you do with Tua. The best thing for the Dolphins to do is just keep Tua, hope he regains his status. This contract is just crazy. You might as well keep him for a year, see if he can do it, build up the infrastructure around him, and then go after it in 27 and get rid of him in 27 when it's more palatable. So, I don't know. I mean, now in football, you could do lots of things. They could spread this out, and they could, if you really want him. But if I were Mulugeta and they were going to say, you would say, okay, what are you doing? First of all, you're treating your client poorly. Tua is his client also. So they say to Mulugeta, oh, we're going to cut Tua. Okay, what? You're cutting my client? And you think I'm going to put my other client there? Fuck you. That's what he would say. How about fuck you? So I don't really see it. Now, look, it's football. Anything could happen. But I'm not seeing it. And then even if they wanted to do all that, Malik Willis is going to go there with Jalen Waddle and Devin Achan, and that's it? What else do they have? They got a decent center and Brewer, and what else? So they got no tight ends. They got one wide receiver. The offensive line's a mess. They do have a good fullback in Ingold, but I think he might be a free agent. But that's fullback. Who cares? So, I mean, it doesn't seem to make sense to me. Actually, Tua's agent is Ryan Williams and AJ Stevens. They work for Athletes First, so it's the same deal. Athletes First. So David Mulugeta is an equity partner of Athletes First. So he's not going to screw over his other agents within Athletes First because he's an equity partner. That means the better the company does, the better for David Mulugeta. So it's all the same. It's Athletes First, same deal. In case anybody wants to fact check me on that one. Yeah, it's funny, right? Super fan. I mean, like, man. Keep it simple, RC. These AG haters will find any reason to dunk on him. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know who you're talking about exactly, and I don't know what Fields debate you're talking about, but Justin Fields was a good dart throw, and it didn't work out. At the end of the debate, I don't know who's debating what. AG didn't want Aaron Rodgers around here. Well, that was his call. Rodgers didn't really play great, to be honest with you. The team is better because they have a better team. They have a defense. They have a decent defense anyway, and TJ Watt and Cameron Hayward, and they have superstars, and they played just well enough to sneak into the playoffs, and then they got their doors blown off. I mean, if you think about it, Rodgers, that season that the Steelers had, could have been the season that we had in 23 with a healthy Rodgers, because I don't think he was healthy in 24. But that's the type of season we were hoping for in 23. He put it on the board in 25, only he did it for the Steelers. That was probably the best we could have done in 23. Win 10 games, sneak into the playoffs, break our streak, get our doors blown off, but we were grateful to be there anyway, broke our streak, and, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. I don't think that Rodgers could have done that with this team. It was just too bereft of talent. We just really didn't stock the roster properly, as I told you guys in the summertime. How many times I got to say it? Braden, after we decide to get Malik, should we discuss the possibility of getting Devin Lloyd? Well, Lloyd, we should get Devin Lloyd, yes, but I really would doubt that they're going to let him go. Why would they? I don't think they have a problem under the cap. He's scheduled to be a free agent, but I would not expect him to make it to free agency. Sonny Styles is absolutely in the cards for us. No matter what, we could take him at 16 for sure, but he probably won't make it to 16. So if we wanted Sonny Styles, you'd have to take him at 2. That's probably a little too high. We have other options there, including Bain and Reese. That's probably the debate there. If he slipped to 16, you take him absolutely. But he'll probably be gone by then. Phil says, found 2 Yahoo Willis articles. Both mentioned 10.6 spot track. Neither mentioned 20. Well, there you go. So, but, I just laid everything out, even if he were to make 20, and it makes no sense for Miami from any perspective, from the Athletes First perspective, from the cap perspective, from the Tua perspective. That being said, it could happen. They could decide to let him go, and Athletes First could be like, all right, now there's a clearer path for Malik. But I still don't think they would convince the agency that that's the best place to be when we could give him more money, probably, or equal money, and we have a better situation. They don't have Mike McDaniel anymore, by the way. So what are they? I mean, they still have to hire their OC, so we got to see who that is. But their head coach is defense like us. So they don't have any advantage there in terms of like having a genius head coach play calling type, offensive genius play caller type. Because that could have been a selling point, but they got rid of McDaniel. And we'll see who they bring in for OC, but it's probably not going to be as good as McDaniel. So, I don't know. I just don't think they have a good selling, a good story to sell. I think we have a better story to sell than they do. I mean, they have no tight ends, 0. Darren Waller, that guy gets hurt every 5 seconds. And plus, I'm sure he doesn't have another year on his contract anyway. So as of now, they have no tight ends. They have one wide receiver. Tyreek Hill has a broken leg. Who knows what he's going to be? They'll probably have to release him anyway for the cap savings. Do they bring him back? Who knows? And what else do you have? Devon Achane. Okay, he's really good, but that's not a lot. Not a lot. Not a lot. Not to mention, if Malik Willis were to work out for us, he comes here, let's say it's a big year. He has his Sam Darnold moment. It's going on. We're winning games. God forbid. God forfend. And he's putting up big numbers, and he looks like a stud. You know how much money we would give that motherfucker? Do you understand? We would throw every dollar we could find. The Muji would be like, "Would you like 100 a year?" I mean, we would give him the top of the top. You see? I mean, we would go crazy. And not to mention all of the marketing opportunities he would have, doing it in New York, the story it would be from one of the worst franchises, terrible punching bag, everybody making fun of us, and we're winning games, and this guy's doing it for us, and he's got all these stats, and he's gonna, and he's playing really well. You know how many people are going to line up to want to have him promote their product or service? I mean, the world would be his oyster. That's a weird phrase. It kind of makes you think oysters are just really fantastic. I'm not so sure they are. But I mean, I think we really do have, no matter, we really do have the best story to sell. And we'd go to Malik and we would say, also, whatever plays you want in the playbook that were in LaFleur's playbook, just tell us what they are. We'll put them in our playbook. No problem. What do you like, Malik? Okay, guess what? That's what we're running. Malik, you got it. What are you comfortable with? And we'll just steal all of LaFleur's plays. We'll look at the film. It's not a secret. And we'll just take those plays, put them in our playbook. Now Malik Willis has the same plays to run here as he did there. And he has a great opportunity. And I think a lot of people are really not understanding how good Adonai Mitchell is, number one. Number two, we could get Romeo Doubs or Alec Pierce, probably not. But all right, let's say we don't even get them. Well, then the 16th pick is going to be a top-notch wide receiver. And if we get Mekhi Lemon, that kid is phenomenal. In fact, I'm worried he might not even be there at 16. It's how good he is. So no matter what, whether it's Dobbs or Lemon or maybe Tate falls, I doubt it, but you never know. This is the NFL. If Carnell Tate fell, oh my goodness, Tate and Lemon are so good. All right, but what if it's not them? Then we'll get somebody else. We'll get Tyson or whoever. We'll get a really good one. And so now you have a wide receiver room. People forget about Mechie and Isaiah Williams. What did Isaiah Williams do all year? All he did was catch every pass and run every jet sweep and do it well. He caught everything we threw to him, Isaiah Williams. Why did people overlook him? He was a role player, but he played his role really well, and he was great on special teams. He's our fifth freaking wide receiver. Then you have John Mechie, the possession receiver. Pretty good. I mean, how's Malik Willis going to find a better spot that needs a quarterback with all of that, plus a decent offensive line, including if we can get AVT back here, which would be phenomenal. Then we could have a phenomenal line, really. We'll protect you. You got people to throw to, and we'll run whatever you want to run, Malik. Whatever plays you were running with LaFleur over there, that's what we will run. Who else will give him all that? Plus 15, 20, I don't know. Maybe Yahoo's right. Maybe it is 20. I don't know. But I would say in 15, I think I put in my thing 12. That was 1.5 more than Spot Track have. All right, maybe it goes up to 15. All right, so what? Who cares? But that's a good deal for him. The guy never made any money yet. He was a third-round pick. He hasn't made any money. So you give him 15, that's great. And an opportunity to prove that he's the guy. And if he does, he will make all the money. So I don't know. I think we have a good spot for that guy. Now, somebody may say, well, wait a minute. You're going to do all that? And this guy had 6 games started. What are you doing? Yeah, but we got to take a chance on somebody. We don't have a lot of options. Keep it simple, RC. Is there a chance Downs makes it to 16? I would doubt it. Would love if he did. I would snap him up. But it's probably not. I mean, he's probably a top 10 pick. He'll probably go right before. He might go. Think about Kyle Hamilton. Remember, RC? Where did Kyle Hamilton go? 11, right? 11 or 12, something like that. And he's on that level. He's on the Kyle Hamilton level. Only he doesn't have an injury history like Kyle Hamilton did. He had the knee before. Remember, he got hurt when he was at Notre Dame. So 11, 12, 13, right before we pick probably. But yeah, so we probably won't get a chance to get him, but that would be fantastic if we did. Not so sure Willis would come here if Charles London is the quarterback coach. They cross paths in Tennessee, could be some animosity. Or he could love him. How do you know there was animosity? It's not Charles London's fucking job to put him in the game. And by the way, Malik Willis stunk when he played in Tennessee. That's not Charles London's fault. He could love Coach London. We don't know. Has Malik Willis said anything about Charles London? This is a good point by RC here. You know what we'll do? We're going to use AI right now. Hang on a second. This is why you need AI. Has Malik Willis spoken about Coach Charles London in any interviews that you can find? Maybe he loves Charles fucking London. How do you know, RC? Let's use AI. Let's see if there's any information. People overthink the quarterback coach, I think. The quarterback coach just basically runs the tape and some of the meetings and then runs the drills out on the field. He doesn't decide which quarterback's playing. Now AI's taking... Oh, crap. That didn't work. Sometimes AI doesn't work. Let's put this into a different AI. Freaking goddamn it. Let's try Perplexity. Grok couldn't get me an answer. Let's see if this can work. Well, it says, from what is readily documented in written coverage, most of the detailed public commentary runs the other way. Charles London, as the Titans quarterback coach, passing game coordinator in 2023, is quoted speaking about Malik Willis and fellow quarterback Will Levis, describing the challenge of developing two young quarterbacks at once and emphasizing that the staff feels comfortable with Willis executing the offense when called upon. Those pieces do not include extended quotations from Willis specifically about London. So, all right. So there's nothing that we can readily see that one way or the other. But yeah, that's really something. He had Will Levis and Malik Willis, two guys who needed time, and they didn't give him any time. So that's something in Charles London's favor. When you're talking about him as a coach, what was he supposed to do with Will Levis and Malik Willis, who were two quarterbacks who were known to need development time? And then when they played, I mean, Will Levis was better, but he was very high variance. And then when Malik Willis got in there, he was bad at that time. And then he got to Green Bay and he improved and played better. So I don't know if we should blame Charles London for that. And I also don't know how Malik Willis speaks about Charles London. He might love Coach London. That could be a plus. And you know who would know that? AG. Because I'm pretty sure he's talking to Charles London about it. Maybe London's like, yeah, man, I'm close with Malik Willis. I'm tight. We tight. We boys. Maybe that. Let's think optimistically. Braden says the best oysters in the world come from Bluff. All right. Good for that, I guess. So there we are. So do we want to do, if we're going to do a mock draft, we have to make some decisions about what we do at quarterback. One way or another, regardless of how much it costs, do we sign Malik Willis? Because if we sign Willis and a backup like Sam Howell, for example, that I used in my video just as an example, cheap backup with some starting experience, if we do that, then obviously we're not taking a quarterback. But if we don't do that, then, who knows? Then we have to think about Ty Simpson at 16 or Ty Simpson at 33. All right, so Superfan says, let's get Malik and Romeo for the mock. Well, if that's the case, I mean, this is going to be a fun mock. Dan Orlovsky. Yeah, we shouldn't use Dan Orlovsky for anything. Dan Orlovsky is terrible. Dan Orlovsky is also a CAA client, and they protect their clients. That's another thing. Some of the people commenting on TV have the same agents as the players. Did you know that? For example, Mina Kimes. You ever wonder how she's on every fucking show and she never says anything good? Well, she's a CAA client, not a CIA client. CAA, Creative Artists Agency, they do sports too. Dan Orlovsky, Mike Greenberg, Adam Schefter, all represented by CAA. You think they're going to put good stuff out about other CAA clients? I think they are. So you got to watch for that. Like Josh Allen, I think, is a CAA client. So they're going to talk up Josh Allen because that's their client, that's their agency brother. You understand? It's how this world fucking works. It's disgusting. We should decide which. Yeah, this is a good point by Braden. Not necessarily what DC, but what type of defense. That's much more important than who the DC is. So if we, for example, if we're going to run a 4-3 attack front defense, which I would not recommend, and I'm going to say something now that's going to hopefully educate you people in the chat. So if we run a 4-3 defense this year, that's what we decide to do. That's what AG has traditionally run. We would be then you need 8 to 10 defensive linemen, 3 of which who are really good, 4 of which are pretty good, and then some below average guys. So we would need a large quantity of defensive linemen to run a 4-3 defense properly for it to be any good. Okay, well, we'll just get a lot of them. What's the problem, Frankie? Well, the problem is that the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons and the Buffalo Bills and the San Francisco 49ers and the Detroit Lions and the New Orleans Saints and the Washington Commanders and the Cleveland Browns and the Dallas Cowboys and the Kansas City Chiefs and all these teams run a 4-3. So that means all those teams are competing against you to sign free agents and draft people who can fit the 4-3. And we start out at a talent deficit relative to them because we only have 4 or 5 to start with. We need 8 to 10. All we got is Jermaine Johnson, Harrison Phillips, Juwan Briggs, Spinny McWinney, Will McDonald, and who else? Is that all we got? I should look up the roster. Who else we got, man? So we're going to need 5 or 6 of these motherfuckers, and we can't find them. They're hard to find. We might get 1 or 2 or 3, but then we're still very short. Let's look at this. Who am I forgetting? McGregor stinks. Watts stinks. Mozzie Smith stinks. Peyton Page. I mean, these people are bad. We don't even have anybody coming back off of IR. Jay Tufele is a free agent. I mean, it would be much easier for us to go to a 3-4 with a nice bare front too. We basically, Michael Clemens probably not coming back, obviously. Peyton Page is a P-squatter. Kalen Saunders is a free agent. We basically have 4 people. And you need 8 or 10. So that's a problem. Where the hell are we going to get all these? So I don't know. This is one of the big things having to do with AG's selection of a DC here. If you go 3-4, Well, now you got enough defensive linemen, and now you just got to find some linebacker types. So that's two things. All right, let's go with Superfan. Malik. So let's go with Superfan, who says we're gonna be signing Malik and we're gonna be signing Romy the homie. But now we got to decide: are we a 3-4 or a 4-3? That's not true, Superfan. If we go 3-4, guess who becomes an outside linebacker? Spinny McWinney, Jermaine Johnson. They can play it, and don't forget, a guy like T.J. Watt is a linebacker technically. Did you know that? Now, most of the time he's on the line. He's in a three-point stance. So that's going to be our Jermaine Johnson. Spinny McWinney, he can play the other role. Then you just need two guys in the middle. We already have one in Sherwood. Hopefully we get another one in Anzalone. And now you have your starters. And plus, that's going to decide, basically what I'm telling you is, whether we're a 3-4 or 4-3 is going to decide what the number 2 pick is. You see? So, all right. So Braden says Wink and a 3-4. All right. Now I would like that. Now, if you're listening to the Badlands people, they will tell you Wink is the same thing as Wilkes. I guess because both of their names start with a W. That's how dumb the people at Badlands are. But they'll tell you Wink is just another version of Steve Wilkes, which is hysterically funny and stupid. Bain can play both. No, he's better suited for a 4-3. I mean, he can play a 3-4. But if you are a 3-4, you really want Arvell Reese, because of what he can do and the flexibility he gives you. And you already have, like, you can take at 16 your other DT, and now you really have something. With Bain in a 3-4, now you're kind of light, because really Will McDonald should be a rotational player at this point, is what I'm saying. So it's not a matter of who can play both. It's like, how do you maximize your defensive front given what these players can do? Because Arvell Reese is fantastic, and so is Ruben Bain. But I would rather have Ruben Bain in a 4-3, because then I could play him at big defensive end and on first and second down. And then when it's third and long, I kick him inside and bring in my NASCAR package, and now I really have something. So that's why I like Bain more in a 4-3. Could he play in a 3-4? Yeah, he could. But you're not getting you're not maximizing his talents, I would say, in that scheme. But he could do it. Yeah, he could. But I like him as a big defensive end, sort of like a run-stuffing defensive end, edge setter on first and second down. Then third down, he kicks inside to defensive tackle, and I bring in my NASCAR package, and we go get the quarterback. Let's go. So that's kind of how I see him best used, whereas Reese is perfect for a 3-4 bear front, and so that's why I'm saying that. Reese and Styles. Could Reese go? No, we don't want Peter Woods. I'm not a big Woods fan, to be honest with you. I just don't see. He slipped a lot in the draft already. People were projecting him to go like top 3 or in the summertime. Now he's somewhere in the middle of the first round. I watched Peter Woods play a number of times. I'm not really that impressed by him. So let's go ahead and see if we can do a mock with a quarterback in place. We've got the simulator here. Let's see if we can do this. Shares. Let's see if this works. It might not. I may go off the air. Oh, it worked. All right. Tell me if you can see the mock draft simulator. Now we're just going to do 2 rounds. We shouldn't really do too many. We shouldn't do too many rounds. We got 4 picks in the first 2 rounds here. And you see the settings here. So let me know if you can see this, and let me know if we should change any of these settings. Maybe we should care more for positional value. or draft for needs, more or less. I don't like to have any randomness. I'm not sure why they have randomness here. I, no team just randomly picks a guy. Like, that's weird. Braden can see it. All right. Oh, okay, but I can't bring up your comments. Okay, so Stacky can see it. All right. So if we don't want any changes, if this is how we want it to go, then we can enter the draft. Now, and we're saying we're at what? A 3-4 or a 4-3? Phil says he sees it on full screen, but what are we, a 4-3 or a 3-4? That's what we got to decide. So Phil wants to go 3-4. All right. That's what we'll do. So we're at 3-4. Let's enter the draft. Let's make it a little bigger. So the Raiders are on the clock. We're not going to do any trades, obviously. That gets a little crazy. So let's see. Well, they picked Fernando Mendoza. Since we're in a 3-4, now, look, they got Caleb Downs, the next valuable guy. We could take Caleb Downs. Yeah, we're just doing 2 rounds, Braden, because that's our first time. The reason we need to do the first 2 rounds is because we don't have a 3rd round pick, and then our 4th round and on, those guys are going to be backups and stuff. The impact player is going to be the first 2 rounds, so we got to get these first 4 picks right. That's the important thing. Now we got Caleb Downs sitting there. We got Arvell Reese sitting there. Jeremiah Love. Then here's Bain. David Bailey's another guy who's very interesting. Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver. Taters. They got Woods all the way up at 9. To me, that's too high. Then you got Sonny Styles, Makai Lemon at 11. Jermod McCoy, and also Keldrick Falk. I don't like him either. He had no production in college whatsoever. Not sure why he's so high. Cassius Howell's really high here, as is Caleb Banks. Wow. I would go all the way down at 19. McDonald at 21. This is kind of interesting. Reese all day. Yeah, so I would say we got to pick. This is pretty obvious. Even though I love a lot of these players, we're taking Arvell Reese. All right, now we're at 16. Let's see who was picked here. Lemon went 11th. Wow. Sonny Styles went 10th. Woods went 9th. Taters went 8th. Bailey went 7th. Love goes to the Browns. That doesn't make any sense. They already have good running backs. Jordan Tyson to the Giants. That makes sense. Bain goes to the Titans. So Robert Saleh gets Ruben Bain. You can probably put that down in pen that he's going to take a defensive lineman in the first round. I think we know that's going to happen. That's what he always does. So, yeah, that makes sense for old Robert Saleh down there. So we are here, and we're not going to take Banks. I would say we take Caden McDonald, our defensive tackle that we need to round out our 3-4. He would basically be, if we got Caden McDonald here, our 3 interior defensive linemen will be Briggs, Phillips, and McDonald, and that's pretty good. Then you'd have Reese and JJ on the outside, and JJ and Willie Spinney McWhinney would kind of be like, sometimes you'd use one, and sometimes you'd use the other. So I would say it's Caden McDonald here. I don't see any other tempting pieces. Any thoughts from the peanut gallery out there? I'm not sure why they have Banks ahead of McDonald. I think McDonald's a better prospect. Banks is an interesting prospect. He's been injured at Florida a lot, so I'm not sure why he would be so high. He seems like more of a 2nd round pick to me with his injury history, but I could be wrong. So Phil the Jet Adams wants to take old McDonald, young McDonald. All right, Caden McDonald it is. Now we're up to 33. And you can see here, we could keep going defense and we could get Akeem Mesidor. Now he has some injury concern. He's had surgery on both of his feet in his college career. But he put up a big year this year, and you saw what he could do in the Natty and all through the college football playoff. Uh, there's a cornerback. We could go wide receiver with Chris Bell. We could go R. Mason Thomas. We could go Jeremy Bernard if we want to build out the wide receiver room. We could go A.J. Halsey. We could go Emmanuel Pregnon. Now, Pregnon would be an option if we did not sign AVT or Johnny Simpson. But the feeling is that we're going to sign one of those two, so we probably don't need Pregnon. Zion Young's down here. So it seems to me that the pick is Mesidor. But we could go, I mean, if we want to go cornerback, if we're not happy with Stevens, Thomas, and Brownlee as our cornerback trio starting, maybe we take a Keith Abney. Let's find out about Keith Abney. 86.3 grade. Last year, 66.2, 71.9 the year before that. Really good breakout year this year, seems like. 2 missed tackles. On defense. Oh, I mean, seems like a decent corner here. Cornerback or linebacker, tight end status. So, tight ends, we have Mason Taylor and Jeremy Ruckert. We do need a tight end at some point. I would not take one here. If you see, there's nobody even close. Eli Stowers is the first one, and he's at pick 50. So that would be quite a reach, even though he is a good prospect. So there's no one who really fits here. Superfan says maybe cornerback or linebacker. Well, my feeling on linebacker is in a 3-4, we're going to have Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, Jamian Sherwood, and I would say Alex Anzalone. Then behind that, we got Mauigoa, and I have a feeling we're going to sign Malcolm Rodriguez too. So that's 6 on the roster right there. So now cornerback, it really depends on if you think a guy like Abney is better than what we have. But obviously, we're looking at Halsey with our next pick if he makes it there. Here, I think it's between Mesidor or R. Mason Thomas. Who's better between Mesidor and Thomas? Who is the best safety in the draft? Well, this is the first one that comes up here. Halsey, A.J. Halsey. Now, I can't say I've done an extensive scouting on A.J. Halsey, but you see his grades here. Pretty good the last 2 years, 86.6 and 80.5. So, seems like he's the best one. LSU does produce a lot of good defensive backs, keep in mind. So, he's the highest on the draft board, and he's got pretty good grades. And then if he's not there, then we would take Dylan Thieneman. And you see his numbers. He's got a 91 grade this year, 72.4, 89.5. So these are two guys who are pretty close in terms of how PFF graded them anyway. So if we don't get Halsey, we'll get Thieneman, is the way I look at it. That's to me, safety at 44 is going to be what it is, because we have to sign one. In my free agency video, I signed Nick Cross, but there's a number of safeties available that we could sign. We got to sign one and draft one. So I'm going to go Mesidor here because we need more linemen. We need more because our line is so bad. Then at 44, we get to take. So Halsey goes to the Bengals. So he's gone. So then we're going to take Thieneman. Jeremy Bernard to the Giants. So the Giants are just taking all wide receivers, I guess. And this Titans pick at 35, you know what Saleh's going to do? He's going to pick another defensive lineman. It's going to be all defensive line for the Titans. Get ready, Titan fans. Defensive line, 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 cornerback, defensive line. They're going to be like, what the hell's going on? All right, so here we got to take Thieneman. And there we go. That's how we fix the defense, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I don't know why. Thieneman's a C. We picked him at 44. He's 5 away from his draft board thing. Big board number. But now you have a defense. I mean, and this is what signing a free agent quarterback does for you. I mean, this kid, Arvell Reese, is being compared to, I don't want to say it, but Arvell Reese is a very good prospect. Let's put it that way. As is Caden McDonald, he can do what we need him to do. Then Mesidor is just a guy who comes in the NASCAR package. We say, go kill the quarterback. And he says, okay, coach, I'll kill him. And he goes and gets him. And Thieneman is exactly what we need at the safety position. Smart, heady, knows what he's doing, good tackler, good range, all that stuff. Played for a big program at Oregon. And we pair him up with Nick Cross or whoever we sign at safety. Now we got good safeties. Our line is looking good. The linebacker's looking good. We should have a good defense. It's not that hard. So all these doom and gloomers, now you might say, yeah, but you're signing Malik Willis, who has 6 games started. How do you know he's going to be any good? And that's, we got to take a chance. We got to take a chance on somebody. And it seems to me in the current market, Malik Willis is the best chance we can take. Just like last year, Justin Fields was the biggest chance. It didn't work out. C is mean. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how you get a C when you take a guy at 44 and his big board rank is 49. I mean, that's pretty close. How's that a C? And plus, I know what the Jets need better than fucking PFF does. I'll tell you that much. So that's really the beauty of signing Willis and Dobbs. See, that's why free agency is so tight. If we sign Willis, Dobbs, and Anzalone, and that's all we did for major guys. We spend our money on Willis, Dobbs, and Anzalone. And then we have this, and this is just 2 rounds of the draft. We have other guys that we're going to pick for backups and depth and stuff. But these are the impact guys. These 4 have to be impact dudes. They got to be those dudes. Like Reese has to really be this good. He's supposed to be a game wrecker, this kid, Arvell Reese. I watched him a bunch of times, and Matt, he's already played for an NFL defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia. Played in a big-time program, Ohio State. We got 2 Ohio State guys here, so Garrett Wilson will be happy. But, he played for Matt Patricia. And they said Matt Patricia was running an NFL-style defense at Ohio State. So, that's how we'll use him, as a big chess piece, game wrecker. It's exactly what we need. So if we play our cards right, now there's a lot of ifs. Maybe we can't get Willis. Maybe some other team wants him. Maybe he wants to go out to the desert with the Cardinals. I don't know, or something. But, I mean, the Cardinals can't even figure out how to hire a coach yet. You think, our situation's bad. But the Raiders fire their coach every single year. You think coaches are clamoring to go there? And what about the Cardinals? They've been a terrible franchise. Think coaches want to go there? And plus, Jordan Schultz, not my favorite reporter, but he did report that Michael Bidwell, the owner of the Cardinals, is not willing to pay high prices for coaching. So on top of the team being terrible, you really have Maserati Marv and Trey McBride, and that's about it. The roster, no good. And you have an owner who won't pay for coaching. At least we got an owner who will pay for coaching. I know we don't have the best situation in the world, but At least we'll pay for coaching, you know? Let's do it again, but this time we have Leonhard. Lionheart. All right. That's a good idea. New mock draft. I mean, we could do a 7-round mock, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to know people in the 6th round. You know what I mean? These 5th round people, I'm not going to know who the fuck they are. And I watched a lot of college football this year. A lot. Day 3 guys, or yeah, exactly. So there's no point in kind of going, I want this one, I want that one. It's like they're not going to make an impact anyway. I mean, if they do, that's crazy. Yeah. Well, this is true. And that's the value. I mean, I don't know why. I really don't understand why Woody Johnson wouldn't look around and say, selling 3% of this team, which wouldn't hurt him at all. In fact, it's good for him. He gets the cash to Curtis Martin's PE group. Wouldn't be a home run in every sense. It's a home run, and he doesn't lose anything. He gets the cash. Imagine somebody was willing to give you a huge bag of cash and all the PR and helping the team win and everything else is just positive, positive, positive. And to get that positive, you are given a bag of cash so big you can't even imagine it. Woody can imagine it because that's the world he lives in. But you and me, we couldn't imagine the bag of cash so big Woody would get from selling just 3% of the fucking team. So he gets all this good stuff, and on top of it, he doesn't have to pay anything. I mean, he's paying the shares, but he gets cashola. It's such a no-brainer. It kills me. It kills me. Some people in life will look at a fucking free bag of money on the table and not take it. And you go and say, is this going to hurt anybody if I take this? No. Can it be used for any other purpose? No. If I leave it here, it's just going to sit here and not go to any use, right? So it's either I take it and put it to use, or it just sits here on this fucking table and doesn't move, doesn't help anybody. That's correct. And then the person goes, I'm not going to take it. No way. It's crazy. That's what Woody's doing. Do you guys understand? That's what Woody's doing by not having Curtis Martin by 2%. You could give him 2%. For God's sakes, man. Ah, it kills me. Here's a good question. What if we get taters? Well, in the scenario that we set, now if we didn't sign Dobbs and we still need a receiver, then we would want taters. Like you would take taters at 2 probably. You can't get them at 16. Not going to last. But then now you're hurting your defense. So that's why I like signing Dobbs for just money and build up the defense in the draft, because it's hard to find defenders that you can find as free agents. They're in demand as free agents. Whereas with Dobbs, we could probably bring him here because of our circumstances and bring in Malik Willis. Now you got the Green Bay twofer there. So a quarterback he's familiar with, lots of playing time. He can be he actually could be the number 1 for us, Dobbs. If teams take away Garrett Wilson, he might get the most targets, just because of how defenses want to play. And then if things go well, God forbid, then they start doubling Dobbs, and then we start throwing to Garrett more, that sort of thing. So where is he going to get that and the money? We can give him top dollar, for his market. So that's why I love Tate. Don't get me wrong. If we need a wide receiver, the 2 receivers to get are Tate and Lemon. Seems to me there's a bunch of good ones in this draft, but the top 2, my opinion, all I've seen, all I've read, all the research, all the trusted sources, it's taters and it's lemon. Lemon lime is so refreshing. Oh, so refreshing. Lemon lime. Beautiful. So those are the 2 you'd want. So if we struck out on Dobbs, then, wide receiver comes into play, but you probably want to see who you could get at 16, which means not Tate because he's going to be gone. I'd take the bag and the table. I mean, it's so weird though. You say that, Phil, but like, why in life it happens all the time where people, there's a free bag of money sitting on the table and people won't take it. It's the weirdest thing. RC says Woody inherited his fortune, couldn't build a successful business to save his life. He's just another Nepo baby that only knows how to hoard cash. Well, that's true and false. A lot of people who are Nepo babies waste their money. Did you know that? Usually on drugs and hookers. I'm not even kidding. So he at least did that. He took his money and he invested it and put it into a hedge fund, which is a smart thing to do. At least he didn't waste it. He did build a company. And then he built another company called the MetLife Stadium LLC that he splits with the Giants. That's another successful business. Then he bought another business. It's called the New York Jets. Woody Johnson has at least 3 successful companies, buddy. So, I mean, MetLife Stadium, you may not like it, but as a venue, it's one of the best in the entire world. The entire world. MetLife Stadium is one of the highest grossing revenue event venues in the whole world. So that's not a failure in his eyes as far as business goes. And then, of course, the Jets. And the Jets don't win on the field, of course, but their value keeps going up and up and up. And they're worth $8.5 billion or whatever it is. So he's actually built 3 businesses, and you could be mad that he's a Nepo baby, and a lot of people are, but a lot of Nepo babies are spectacular failures because they get caught up in drugs, they get caught up in alcohol, they get caught up in too much with the women's, and and this sort of thing, and their lives are just nothing but a complete and total disaster. So, look, there are Nepo babies in this world, and that's just the way that it is. But you would hope that he had at least some common sense. And I don't know. Just because you're a Nepo baby doesn't mean you don't have some common sense. I mean, Mark Davis is a Nepo baby, so here's the reverse. Mark Davis of the Raiders, he's a Nepo baby. He inherited the team, and he's done absolutely nothing in his life except inherit this team from his dad, Al Davis. Well, and so he didn't even take money and create a new company. Whereas Woody Johnson invested in 3 companies, and they're all successful. At least 3. He might have some other businesses I'm not aware of. So Mark Davis did that. And, of course, the Raiders are a good company if you think of it that way. But he did nothing else in life. He doesn't have any other businesses. And he still recognized that Tom Brady would be a good person to sell some shares to so that Tom Brady could be the face of the Raiders and not Mark Davis, who looks like he's wearing a mask when he just has his regular face showing and has a haircut of a little boy, which is very strange. But nonetheless, he at least recognized that much. If I put Tom Brady as the face of this franchise, the PR will be much, much better, which it has been. And that is correct. So how come that Nepo baby was able to do that and our Nepo baby can't see it? I don't get it. And plus, I guess I shouldn't get started on this. Plus, he has fucking Jaime El High there. Why isn't Jaime in his ear going, sell 2% to Curtis Martin today? Today, Woody. Like, where's Jaime's advice? That's supposed to be his, financial right-hand man, Jaime El High. Supposed to be, giving him advice on business matters for the Jets. This is the biggest business matter we could have, is Curtis Martin buying a PE share of the Jets so we could have a better face to the franchise than fucking Woody. Where's Jaime? Where's Christopher? Where are these people who could be advising this man? Annoys the hell out of me. Rant incoming. I mean, when I get started on this, it's just like some people just, a lot of people would kill to be in the position that Woody's in, right? So you would think you have to have some perspective in life that, my goodness, I was put in such a great position. Like Woody was born on third base, right? He was born between home and third, basically. And and a lot of people think they born on third base and you thought you hit a triple. Well, but at some point you have to realize, boy, I was lucky where I got born into. He didn't do anything to be born into. He just got lucky, right? So shouldn't I be looking for all kind of ways to lift other people up and to make the right decisions for the fans and the people who support this franchise and all the people who work for the franchise? But no, no indication he wants to sell anything at all. Well, yeah, RC, but so what? What's the point? Yeah, you're right, but so what? He's got three successful businesses and you don't. Yeah, that's a part of being a nepo baby. At least he put, like I'm saying, at least I mean, he wouldn't have been able to buy the Jets or the MetLife. And what about the MetLife business? That was a smart business move. But he wouldn't have been able to buy the Jets if he didn't invest in a hedge fund, start a hedge fund, and invest the money properly. A lot of people invest in the stock market and lose all their money. So he at least did that much. But yeah, it's hard to build a business up from the ground. But if you want to respect somebody, respect Arthur Blank. He started a business from scratch and built it up. You want to respect somebody, respect the Walton family. The grandfather or whatever great grandfather of the Waltons built up Walmart from scratch. Yeah, those are people who are more respectable than Woody. Yes, that's much harder. But still, what difference does that make? We have a this is who we have. We can't change Woody out under any circumstances. So that's just the way it is. All right, let's go back to the draft, shall we? And now we're going to say, what are we going to say? I forgot. I got onto my rant. Uh, what were we going to do again? I forgot. You're dealt the hand you're given. Yeah. So, what were we going to do again? We're going to do it as a 4-3. Is that what we're doing? Let me know. Okay, let me know. We're going to redo the draft. Let me know what we're doing. Julani is here. Julani, we're about to do a 2-round mock draft, Julani. Oh, yeah, 4-3. All right. So let's see if this works again. This might break everything. Oh, okay. So here you see where we are. 2-round draft. Maybe pick a quarterback in the draft in a 4-3. I'd rather not pick a quarterback in the draft. Everything gets screwed up. It'd be a good exercise, though. Everything gets kind of screwed up if we need a quarterback, because then we can't fix the fucking defense. So we're going to say a 4-3. It's going to be the exact same, except we're picking Bane. I'll tell you that. All right, they take Mendoza. Now we're in a 4-3, so we want Mr. Bane. Then we get to 16, and Lemon's gone at 11. Boy, they really think the Dolphins are taking Lemon. Styles at 10, Woods at 9, Taters at 8, David Bailey, Tyson, Arvell Reese goes at 4. Caleb Downs went at 3. Wow. Jeremiah Love, they like to give, it's weird. They give Jeremiah Love to the Browns even though their needs do not include a running back. I wonder why. They don't need Jeremiah Love at all. They got Quinshon Judkins and they got a decent backup. They don't need him at all. They need wide receiver very badly. They would actually take Taters there, I think. Tyson gone, they would take Taters. Or Maui Noah, maybe. They need offensive line and wide receiver, not running back. That's weird. Taters goes to the Saints. That's fine. Give a receiver to Shuck. I mean, Bengals need defense everything, so that's fine. So we're on the clock here, and we would do the same. We would take, well, do we want now, Caden Proctor, this is way too high for him. Do we want to take McDonald here? So RC says, is it wrong that I'm wishing the same fate Jerry Buss met so the Johnson family sells the Jets? Well, what happened with Jerry Buss? Because if Woody dies, the Jets are just staying in the Johnson family. Like Christopher just takes over. Christopher is significantly younger, don't forget. Jerry Buss was majority owner of, so he died of kidney failure after a long battle with cancer. So what? What does that have to do with the Johnsons? Oh, because then after that he sold the team. Well, I think if Woody dies, it just goes to Christopher, and then Christopher is significantly younger, or I think 5 or 6 years younger, or something like that. And then the idea would be that he holds on to it for maybe another decade, and then the kids take over. I don't think the Johnsons are selling it at any time. So what are we picking here? Kenyon Sadiq? No. If we took a tight end at 16, that would be terrible. We basically have to decide whether to take McDonald. This is way too high for Boston. I don't even, or Miller, that's too high. So, like, the only one who makes sense is McDonald. Unless we didn't sign a guard, then we could take Vega here. You know, like if we didn't sign Simpson or AVT, then we could draft Vega here. But we need to go defense. So with what's available, and Caleb Banks, that's too high for Banks. I'm going to go ahead and get McDonald again. This forces Briggs back to the bench in a 4-3, but that's okay because we need it. And then, now that I'm here, I'm going to take Mesidor again. So it's the same draft. Mesidor and then safety. So we need defensive line. The needs don't change that much. The only difference is you take Bain or Reese. And then now who's available at safety? Thieneman again. We could take EMW. Let's take a look at EMW. Some people are probably going to think EMW here is the best safety in the league, but he played at a much lower level of competition, even though he put up a 91.9 grade, as opposed to Thieneman, who played in the Big Ten and put up a 91 grade, and also has another year where he put up an 89.5 grade. That's in the Big Ten, much higher level of competition. So I would say it's Thieneman again. And that's the way it's going to go. Really, I think they keep giving me a C for Thieneman. That's stupid. But here we take 2 Miami players. Now, the other thing to keep in mind with Miami is we have a little advantage there. Do you know what the advantage is? So Braden says, tell me about Banks. Well, Banks is a good prospect, but he's been injured for most of his career, including most of this year. So while he could turn out to be a good player, you're taking a big risk because he's had major injuries. So I would take him in the 2nd or 3rd round, but I'm not taking him all the way up there, not with his injury risk being what it is. So now, do you know what the advantage we have with the University of Miami? Breaking news. We have breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, from Zach Rosenblatt 11 seconds ago. The Jets are moving on from some notable coaches, including quarterback coach Charles London. Woohoo! Everybody goes crazy. Defensive line coach Eric Washington, linebacker coach Aaron Curry, and pass game coordinator Scott Turner. Also, Alonso Escalante, who's one, and Roosevelt Williams. Hearing they will reassign at least one other offensive coach who was retained by Aaron Glenn. So Charles London is gone, everybody. Bye-bye, Charlie London. So I guess we don't have to worry about what kind of relationship he has with Malik Willis. So breaking news, everybody. As of 11 seconds ago, Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic is reporting the Jets are moving on from some notable coaches, including quarterback coach Charles London, defensive line coach Eric Washington, linebacker coach Aaron Curry, and pass game coordinator Scott Turner. Of those, only Scott Turner is a surprise, but considering how bad we were as in the past game, I guess not that surprising. Aaron Wilson is also reporting that we're moving on from Roosevelt Williams, who was a minor assistant coach and Alonso Escalante, who was also a minor assistant coach on the defensive staff. Aaron Wilson is hearing they will reassign at least one other offensive coach who was retained by Aaron Glenn. I wonder if they're going to reassign Coach Hayden to the tight end coach, make Coach Blasco the assistant tight end coach, and hire Coach Ledyard, who got let go by Stefanski, who brought in Callahan to be his O-line coach. Ledyard is known to be an excellent offensive line coach. So let's hope they get an upgrade at offensive line coach. And now we have an opening at quarterback coach, which opens up the lines of the line of possibility for me, for my idea of putting Chad fucking Pennington in there. Could now happen. Braden said, I don't want anyone. Well, so they're going to have, some of them are going to have injury histories, but it's a matter of how significant. So Caleb Banks was significant. Now, I wouldn't not draft Caleb Banks, but you're not going to draft him at 14. There's a difference in drafting a guy 35 and 14. You got to be sure 100% about that guy at 14. 35, you could take a chance. So it's just a difference. Braden says, wow, cleaning house for who I wonder. Willis can have, yeah, that's the other thing. Hey, Malik, who do you, maybe we're talking to Malik's agent, who's David Mulligetta, and we're saying, who would Malik like over here? You know, we'll go get him. But also Chad Pennington, I will say, breaking news, 25 concurrent viewers. This is telling me, I don't know if that's true or not, but hey, by the way, if you're in here, give a like. Give a thumbs up. We're doing breaking news here on the FSPN channel, live on the show. But I did speak with, earlier this week, someone who knows Chad Pennington. Oh, yes. And I made it clear to this person that we, the Jet fan base, would love it if Mr. Pennington would consider being our quarterback coach. Now, I don't know if that's going to get back to Chad, but would be nice, and I'm sure he already knows that's, could happen. I mean, you would think. Now, you say, what kind of coaching experience does Chad Pennington have anyway? Well, first of all, he's been coaching, head coach at high school level for 8 years now. And his kids have gone through there. His kids are quarterbacks too, his boys. So, and I think they're just about done. I think they're all gone to college, if I'm not mistaken. So we know he has an interest in coaching anyway. And quarterback coach is a perfect entry-level position for someone like him. He was a quarterback for two teams, essentially. For a long time, the NFL had a lot of injuries. Of course, we all remember Chad. And then after that, he went into coaching. He was a head coach of a high school team. So go from head coach high school to quarterback coach, that's logical. Whereas Philip Rivers, going from head coach high school to head coach of the Buffalo Bills, potentially. That's ridiculous. So we got some breaking news here on FSPN. We didn't break it. We gave it to Zach Rosenblatt, is the one who broke the news. Now, Country Club Connor Hughes has blocked me, so I have to actually go find his page. Let's see if Country Club has anything to say. So, yeah, he does have something to say. Country Club Connor Hughes says the Jets moved on from these people, blah, blah, blah. Turner's the only one in the group. That surprised me. That's what I said. He says, this is interesting, very interesting. Players had a lot of issues with Washington and Curry. Well, he didn't talk about that on JFD. I mean, he mentioned that there's some coaches that people weren't happy with. So maybe between Wilkes, Washington, and Curry, those were very poor coaches, perhaps. And that's a mistake. So that's a mistake that Glenn made, and hopefully fixes it. But if the players have a problem with a coach like that, where a person like Country Club Connor Hughes, knows about it, you know, uh, that means it was pretty significant. It wasn't just your normal, this guy's pushing me too hard, or this, you know, like it seems like it's significant if Country Club knows about it. You hear me? So, but good. But I say good. Good on Aaron Glenn. He recognized the problem and he got rid of it. This is a good sign. This is good. I have just internalized. Uh, do we know how close AD? No, but they were teammates. They were teammates. So there's that. But obviously, you know, these the coaching community is pretty small, you know, and I'm pretty sure AG is familiar. I mean, certainly knows who Chad is, and it wouldn't be a stretch to think, well, this guy was a very heady quarterback. You know, if he ever wanted to coach, a QB coach would make a lot of sense. So, like, I think this is, as I've internalized this news now, I think this is a great sign. Here's why: it's Aaron Glenn recognizing he made a fucking mistake. Look, he was a first-time head coach. You had to expect mistakes. I told you guys that. And then a lot of people got very angry at AG when, well, we started out 0-7 and there were mistakes made, you know, game management, and people were upset. He's a first time head coach. Of course he's going to make mistakes. That's stupid expectations. But here we are in his first offseason. He gets rid of he gets rid of Steve Wilkes, which was kind of ballsy if you think about it. That was one of his mentors, you know, one of these old heads that he wanted around for his experience. Got rid of his ass. Now, season ends, getting rid of Coach Washington, Coach Curry, Coach London, and Coach Turner. And you think about it, Scott Turner, probably Turner and London. Well, we had a lot of problems with the quarterback position, so we got rid of the passing game coordinator and the quarterback coach. We had a lot of problems on defense, so we got rid of Coach Wilkes and Coach Washington and Curry. I think this is great. It shows he's not afraid to make a change and to change course and to say, essentially, I got these hires wrong, but now we're going to make it right. That's the way it has to be, because, and so that is, I think, encouraging, because you could have been a person who was like, no, these are great coaches. What are you talking about? We just have to get better players, which of course we do. But, you know, this is very revealing. When Country Club Connor Hughes says players had a lot, with emphasis on the word lot, of issues with Washington and Curry, that is significant. And if you think about it, our front was the problem. And those are the people responsible for our front, along with Wilkes. So we got rid of, it seems like he's cauterized the problem. He's cut it out like a cancer. Get out of here. Now we got to get better players too, but this makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense. So, that is where we are. And I think this is very, very good. Zach says, so nobody else has commented on this. Rosenblatt says, so in totality, after a year, Aaron Glenn will already be replacing a defensive coordinator, pass game coordinator, and 3 key position coaches. Yeah. Because we sucked. We need to change those people out. I think it's a good thing. Now, we're going to have to start winning games, and it doesn't matter what you change out. If we continue to lose, he's probably in trouble. But checking Gary Gnu Myers, who also has me blocked because these people are chicken shit morons. And he's got nothing to say about nothing. All right. Canizero. Canizaro's not saying anything. These people never say anything. So Rosenblatt's the only one who has this, and Rosenblatt and Hughes are the only ones talking about it. And that's why I tell you guys, there's really 3 reporters to pay attention to: Rosenblather, Hughes, and Samini. So what do you guys think? Not seeing any comments come in. Is commenting still working? Send in a comment so I know comments are working still. Everything looks good on my end. Send in a comment so we can know that it's working. Okay, so Phil sends in a comment. AG has used his axe, yeah. So again, I think this is a positive sign as a rookie head coach. He made some mistakes. Okay, look, he did. Joe Trasheroso is saying hallelujah for Charles London. So there you go. Phil Adams is pleased. Murph, he's a member of the inner circle. He says, comment in. Braden says, I'm glad, but I really want to know who's up next more than anything. Well, we got to get rid of the deadwood first, Braden. Then we got to hire a DC, and then the DC and AG will hire out the staff. And maybe as far as Scott Turner, maybe Tanner Engstrom just didn't need him. Maybe he just thought this guy's superfluous or was causing problems. And so he doesn't necessarily need to be replaced. We can if we want to, but obviously, that tells you also that some of the coaches that stayed were Chris Harris is probably going to be on the staff. I wouldn't be surprised if we go after a new O-line coach. That would be pretty good because Coach Hyden did a good job, but he also has a tight end background. Coaches. So Scott Turner, so like Jeff Blasco, so Dre Bly survived. Assistant defensive line Cameron Davis survived. Aaron Curry did not survive. Charles London did not survive. Running back coach survived. Nathaniel Willingham survived. Eric Washington did not. Escalante was a defensive assistant, very low level. He did not survive. Defensive assistant Roosevelt Williams, he did not survive. So we kept Dre Bly. We kept Cameron Davis. We kept Jeff Blasco, the tight end coach. We kept Steve Hyden, the O-line coach. And we kept Sean Jefferson, the wide receiver coach. We kept the running back coach, Nick McKissick, Luke. We kept Brian Natkin, assistant offensive line. We kept Brandon Blaney, offensive assistant. We kept Walter Kuzmirik, offensive assistant. And we kept, of course, our special teams coaches. So I think, I think it's good. Murph says, thank God I'm in the inner circle. Yeah, and other people could be in the inner circle. I mean, look at Murph. Murph is getting information that you people have no idea how good it is. Unless you join the inner circle, $2 a fucking month. You don't have $2 to give to old Frankie. And meanwhile, all these people, including Murph, get exclusive information. I mean, you would not believe the information this man gets. And you don't have it because you refuse to give me $2. How about that? James Thompson, the key is getting the right quarterback coach. If only we had the right quarterback coach. Well, I don't think he's as important as people think. After all, the greatest quarterback coach on earth is on the Vikings. How did J.J. McCarthy do? So the quarterback coach would be good. Like Chad Pennington would be perfect. He would get along with everyone. He knows the position, played it, went through tough times, went through good times, took us to the playoffs, got injured a bunch, has had his ups and downs as a player, and he's been coaching at the high school level now for 8 years. So makes perfect sense for him to now come into the NFL as a quarterback coach. That'd be nice. Would he change a bad quarterback into a good quarterback? No. But he'd be a good hire. Charles London has a lot of experience. I guess he wasn't doing a good job, but the man has 18 years of NFL experience. Then again, so does Eric Washington. He just got fired. So I don't know. Alonso Escalante. I don't know what he did wrong, but he's out of here. He had 9 years of experience. He's out of here. Roosevelt Williams looks like a nice fella. 4 years experience? See you later, Roosevelt. We don't want people named Roosevelt around here. What kind of a name is Roosevelt? Mr. Williams. So we said goodbye to him. Aaron Curry. You would think Aaron Curry would be a good coach. After all, this guy was a high draft pick, but then he was a disappointing player. He had some injury problems, very performance problems. You would think that maybe that's a good formula for a good coach. The ups and downs, he's seen it all. No bueno. No bueno. He's out of here. Scott Turner, the son of Norv Turner, you'd think he would be a good addition to his staff. 14 years of experience. No, get out of here. So, I don't know. And of course, we still have Chris Harris, who's currently listed as the defensive coordinator, but that was the interim. And of course, Chris Banjo did a great job. Hopefully, he got a raise. Give Chris Banjo some more money, would he? And Tanner Engstrand did a good job. Good job. And Chris Harris, they say Chris Harris is very respected and an up-and-comer, but probably not ready to be the DC just yet, but probably will be retained on the staff. Now Rich Cimini finally is commenting, and he interestingly does. Oh, no, he gave credit to Aaron Wilson. All right, he gave credit to Aaron Wilson. That's correct. You know, these guys have to give proper credit, otherwise it's like a faux pas. And he did so. I thought he didn't. Basically reiterating, no surprises here, he says, except maybe Turner. This creates 2 key openings on offense, QB and PGC. Yeah, but you don't always need a PGC. Most teams do have it, though, so maybe we will. So there you go. I think some good news out of Jetland. We broke it here on the air. Oh, yeah. Well, it depends, but I think we are going to be super aggressive in some areas. Like if you watched my video about the free agency period, Phil, like a guy like Alex Anzalone, I think we're going to be aggressive. Romeo Dobbs, I think we're going to be aggressive. Malik Willis, I think we're going to be aggressive. All those other people, look, if Malcolm Rodriguez wants more than $3 million, he can go pound sand. We're not going to be super aggressive for that. There's going to be a few targeted guys that we need and we go after. Those 3 are basically going to be Anzalone, Willis, and Dobbs, in my opinion. We're going to try to go for AVT. We're going to see what he wants. He might want to move back to California. Then I think we just fall back to Simpson. We're going to probably give Hall a market value deal, Breece Hall. And all the rest of it, if Nick Cross wants more than 5 or 6, he can go pound sand and we'll find some other safety for 5 or 6. You know, see what I'm saying? So we're not going to go hog wild, but there's going to be 2 or 3 that we really want, and we're going to be aggressive with them to make sure they come here. And those are very priority free agents in my mind. And those particular people, Anzalone, Willis, and Dobbs. We got, in my mind, we don't have to get them, but it would be a significantly more successful offseason than last year if we were able to get those 3 in particular. And then we'll get some other guys, like if we don't get DJ Reader, but we get some other defensive tackle who's almost as good, that's fine. You see what I'm saying? Or if we don't get AVT, then we get Simpson, that's fine. You know, we don't get Sam Howell, but we get, I don't know, somebody else who's just as good, that's fine. But in certain areas, we're going to be aggressive. Other areas, we're going to go market value. And if they want to come, great. If not, we'll go after some other guy. Peyton Manning as the QB coach. Yeah, Peyton Manning loves the Jets, as we all know. Linderbaum. Yeah, so Linderbaum, Linderbaum is a guy you're going to have to pay. If you want Linderbaum to come here, you're going to have to pay him 22, 23 mil a year. You want to do that for a center? Because he's the second best center in the league. Creed Humphrey got 17, so he's going to want more because that was signed a couple of years ago. And not only that, but John Harbaugh is now where? Where's John Harbaugh right now? He's over there with the Gigantes, and they need offensive lines. So John Harbaugh, not being an idiot, will probably say, hey, let's go get Linderbaum. Take John Michael Schmitz. Let's make him a guard or something, or sit his ass on the bench. So Linderbaum might want to go hang out with Harbaugh again. But if we want him, it's going to be very, very expensive. Do you want to pay $22 million to a center? DCJL is from Wisconsin. Yeah, Jimmy Leonard. I actually wanted to look at that. Where he's actually from. Now, he played for us, of course. Did have overlap with Aaron Glenn at certain spots, Cleveland, so forth. Jim Leonard. Oh, yeah, he was born in Wisconsin. Ladysmith, Wisconsin. Wow. So he may want to go to Green Bay, especially if now that Hafley's gone, he could be the DC at Green Bay. And if you think about it, does Jim Leonard want to be the DC of the Jets or the Packers? The Packers have Rashawn Gary, Devontae Wyatt, Quay Walker, Micah Parsons, Lucas Van Ness, and all these fucking people. Edgerrin Cooper. They have an amazing defense. You think he wants to coach them or coach this bunch of clowns over here? So that's another reason why I think we're getting Wink. Because I think he's going to be willing to come here, whereas some of these other people, Leonard would be great, but he's going to have other opportunities. He went to Flambeau High School in Tony, Wisconsin. Then he went to University of Wisconsin. He's a big Wisconsin guy. I forgot. Huge Wisconsin guy, so wouldn't it make sense, all the sense in the world, to go to Green Bay then? Especially because they have such a great personnel there. As opposed to coming to a place like this, where you have much less and we're trying to build it. They already got it. You see? I'm just trying to see if there's any other breaking news. Joe Mike has arrived. That's not true. He had some experience as a linebacker coach, but I think he split his time. Look up Charles London. 18 years in the league, man. Hey, it's harsh. So, offensive assistant, running backs. So he was been a quarterback coach since 2021. So that's 5 years. And then before that, he had 6. So 6 years as a running back coach, 5 years as a quarterback coach, pretty much equivalent. He was also an offensive quality control coach, offensive assistant. He's done a bunch of stuff. But I guess he wasn't doing a good job. We got rid of him, so that's all that matters. Now we got to find the right guy, and I have proposed Chad Pennington. And like I said earlier, Joe Mike, earlier this week I spoke to someone who knows Chad Pennington, and I told this person we would very much, I spoke for the entire fan base of the New York Jets, and I told this person we would very much like it if Mr. Pennington would consider becoming our quarterback coach. So you can be damn sure if it happens, I'll take credit. So yeah, 6 years running back coach, 5 years quarterback coach. Also was a scout for a year, Charles London. Interesting background. I was hoping it would work out, but obviously when you had the quarterback play that we did, somebody's got to take the fall, and he was the fall guy. So him and Scott Turner, really, if you think about it. So he's gone. That didn't work. But the nice thing is that Aaron Glenn has recognized his mistakes and hasn't been and was not afraid to get rid of these people. And so I think that also speaks to probably Woody's confidence in Glenn, because Glenn isn't scared to have Woody go, well, wait a minute. We gave contracts to all these people because Woody now has to pay these people for the next 2 years, usually as an assistant coach. Usually get a 2 or 3 year contract. The head coach gets a 5-year. So now Woody, Glenn just cost Woody a lot of money right here by firing these people. So Woody must have been okay with it also. So again, Woody willing to pay. He's willing to pay for coaching. You got to give him his, when he does something good, we got to say that. Because he does so much bad. Braden said, to add him to our O-line, I would be paying top dollar. For Linderbaum, you'd pay a center $22 million. Now, if we did that, there would be a way to structure the contract to make it make sense, to where the cap hit is not 22. But still, it's a lot of money. That's top dollar, Braden. Like the highest is Creed Humphrey at 17 or 18, maybe it is. So we gotta beat that, and then we gotta pay the Jets tax on top of that. To pay that much money to a center it's probably not worth it, to be honest with you. That much, you probably should go out and get somebody not as good, but that you can find for $13-14. Let me just look at NFL free agent. Let me see what's sent, like an Ethan Postage, but then he got injured, I think. Center, UFA, Ethan Postage, but I think he got injured. But like Ethan Postage, if his medicals check out, is, according to Spot Track, says $10.5 million. So if you paid Ethan Postage 12, you probably get. He's not going to be as good. I mean, they're projecting Linderbaum to make 18. See, that's what I said. But then you got to pay the jet tax, so maybe you can get him for 20. But that's a lot for a center. Now, do you want Linderbaum for 20 or Postage for 12? Connor McGovern from the Buffalo Bills, scheduled to be a free agent. They're saying he's going to make 16. That's a lot for Connor McGovern, the other Connor McGovern. We could have him come back here. I mean, it's a different Connor McGovern, but Luke Fortner, you get for 6. They're listing Dan Feeney here. There's not a big list, though, so that's why it was key for us to sign Myers just in case. Let's see what Luke Fortner did. Who the hell's paying attention to Luke Fortner? Luke Fortner. Because if I could get Luke Fortner at a reasonable price and he's good, you might want to go that way. Yeah, 66.5 overall grade from PFF. Yeah, for $7 million, you might want to do that. As opposed to paying 20. But he only played 678 snaps, so he didn't play the whole year. This was the best grade he ever had. I don't know. It's going to be Myers, and we just use the money for other things, to be honest with you. Rich Samini says, it's not unusual. This seems like a positive tweet from Rub It In Rich. It's not unusual for a first-year coach to tweak his staff after 1 year, although 7 changes is more than a tweak. Okay, so he has to make it sound bad. The DC position remains vacant. I'd keep an eye on Wink Martindale there. See? OC Tanner Engstrand remains. So now you're hearing it from multiple beat reporters about Wink. You heard it from Frankie first. FSPN was first on the Wink Martindale train. I had it before anyone. I didn't have any sources. I was just using logic. Then, so that's less, that's just me speculating. Then you started hearing it from Country Club Connor Hughes. He has sources. So he's basing his opinion on what he's hearing from the sources usually. Sometimes not. That's why it's confusing with some of these douchebags. Now you're hearing it from Rub It In Rich. Rub It In Rich is now saying, quote unquote, I'd keep an eye on Wink Martindale there, unquote. That's a lot of smoke to the fire. Now, I'm sure that the Jets would love Jimmy Leonard, but he's probably going to get a better job. Let's be honest. That's why I've been saying all along Wink would be fine, even though the idiots from Badlands are telling you Wink is the same as Wilkes. He's not, because he's a better defensive coordinator than Wilkes, and he's respectable. Some years he had a great defense, some years he had middle of the pack, some years he had 20th, 21st, but he never has a terrible one, and that's what we're looking for here. We got to get this train on the tracks because the top-notch coaches, the top-notch people aren't going to come here unless there's some circumstance where we can convince them this is the right place for them. And for a DC, it's hard to make the case, whereas we were making the case for Romeo Dobbs and Malik Willis, and it's a good case, in my opinion. For the DC, it's really hard for an up-and-comer like Leonard or one of these other top guys. It's hard to make that case. We don't have these players right now. We can say we're getting Bain all we want, or this guy and that guy. We don't have them right now. And by the way, they're rookies. What if we get Caden McDonald? We think he's going to be great. What if he stinks? It's possible. So, and we have to hire these coaches before free agency and before the draft. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. So a guy like Wink Martindale, with the age he is, and the fact that he used to coach in New Jersey, he probably has a house in Jersey, and he's at the right age where, hey, if it doesn't work out, no problem. I just take Woody's money for a few more years. I retire. I sit on the porch with my rocking chair and smoke out of a pipe and play with the grandkids. I mean, so what? And meanwhile, if it works out, though, we got a guy who can get the train on the tracks. So I'm not sure why there's such a negative attitude amongst the Badlanders toward Wink Martindale. It just seems to be a terminal case of stupidness amongst that chunk of the fan base. And there's a lot of people who subscribe to Badlands. And it's very disturbing, to be honest with you. I understand the situation with the Giants is not in our favor, though. Yeah, Linderbaum might want to go play for Harbaugh. Joe Mike, I read that Glenn wanted the next DC involved in the hiring of the other defensive staff. Well, of course, Joe Mike. Doesn't that make sense? What, we're going to hire the other defensive staff, and then the DC is going to come in and say, I don't want that bum. Of course he has to be. So probably what's going on, well, you got to read between the lines, Joe Mike. What's probably going on is Wink has said yes or no to these coaches. Like Aaron Glenn said, look, if we hire you, we'd like to keep Chris Harris and Dre Bly and, Cameron Davis and Nathaniel Willingham. We really like those guys. Do you have a problem with any of that? And Wink probably said, no, I like those guys. They're cool. Definitely can work with them. Okay. So in other words, Wink is probably already on board with those dudes. Because why else would Dick Chimney rub it in Rich? Why would he throw in this line, I'd keep an eye on Wink Martindale there? He's not saying per sources, but, sometimes they say their opinion and it's a sourced opinion. Probably doesn't have permission to say per sources yet. But he's just offering why would he offer his opinion right in the middle of this? He just randomly wanted to throw in opinion? I mean, maybe. But it's looking like it's Wink, guys. And I'm happy with that. Braden, I so wanted to work for Aaron. Yeah, me too. I'm rooting for Aaron. It's almost like the rest of it's like the Badlands people and the Ass Man people, the Ass Maniacs, the Jake Ass Man people. It's almost like they're rooting against Aaron Glenn. It's really strange. It's really strange. Braden says, I wear rose-colored glasses when it comes to Linderbaum and Lloyd. Well, they're two great players, Braden. But It's just a matter of how much you want to pay for them. Now, Lloyd, let's see how much they project for him. Linebacker, UFA. Devin, they're projecting $20 million for Devin Lloyd. We're not getting Devin Lloyd, Braden. I'm sorry, because we got to pay the jet tax over that. We're not paying $23 million for a fucking linebacker. I don't care how good he is. So good luck to Mr. Lloyd. He's not coming here. Oh, great player though. Is he worth? Now, could we get a Nakobe Dean? I'd love to get Nakobe Dean, but he might want to go with Christian Parker, who just got hired. He's going to make 15 according to this. So, yeah, a $20 million linebacker when we already paid 15 to Sherwood? No way. No way, no way, no way. Linderbaum to the G-Men for 20 or Jets for 23. He'd choose the Giants. He'd probably choose us. I mean, they usually go where the money is because the Giants aren't exactly good either. Now, the expectation is Harbaugh is going to straighten him out. Obviously, you don't give a coach $20 million to not straighten it out. But, I mean, these offensive linemen, they got to take the most money they can get. It'd be stupid of him to turn down money. They have short careers. A lot of these old linemen retire by 30. They don't have long careers generally. They got to take all the money they can get. So we could outbid them, but then you're paying $23 million for a center. That's not going to happen, I don't think. I don't think so. Braden says, if we do get Wink, do you think that'll mean a definite change to base 3-4? No. He's done both. I did research on this. Now, he was a 3-4 with Baltimore, but when he went to the Giants, they were a 4-3 that also mixed in some 3-4. So if I had to bet, I would think Wink's going to come in and somebody's going to ask him that, and he's going to go, well, we're going to be multiple. And then we probably will actually be multiple, as opposed to Cimini's tweet earlier in the week that I had to fucking dunk on and tell him how much of a dummy he was for getting it wrong. Whereas in all of the data feeds that emanate from the NFL itself that go out to Next Gen Stats, to all these databases, Jermaine Johnson is listed as a linebacker. And it's because he switched to number 11, if you remember that. When he switched to number 11, only linebackers can have that kind of number. He really, really wanted number 11, so he had to change officially to a linebacker. But he's not currently, in any sense, a linebacker. He plays defensive end. It doesn't matter if he's in a 2-point stance or a 3-point stance or a 4-point stance or a 17-point stance. He's a linebacker because he changed his number. That's why. And in all of the official data feeds that start with the NFL and go out to all the various things, he's a linebacker. So when he's on the field, it looks like we're in a 3-4 because we have 3 defensive linemen, 2 defensive tackles, 1 defensive end, and a linebacker named Jermaine Johnson, number 11. He's in no way a linebacker for the Jets as he played for us so far. We could make him into that if we wanted to, but in every sense of the word, he's a defensive end, or has been so far. But if you don't chart the games, like Rub It In Rich does not chart the games, and I do, you would not know that. You would just have to look at the data emanating from the NFL to Next Gen Stats or True Media or whatever database you're looking at, and you would think, wow, the Jets ran a lot of 3-4 last year. But they didn't, and Rub It In Rich doesn't know that because he doesn't know ball. That's why. Braden says, I'd rather draft Styles. What would it take to trade up to 10? Well, we're not going to trade up, that's for sure. Because we can't afford to trade up. If we're going to do any trades, we should be trading back. So we could trade back the 33rd pick if somebody has a hard-on for, let's say, Ty Simpson slips out of the first round. Somebody really wants him, we're trading that 33rd pick. We have too many needs. We can't be trading up, and we can't get a hard-on for any particular player. Like Sonny Styles. He's really good. Love to have him. But we can't be trading up and sacrificing anything. We need all of our draft picks. Unless you're going to tell me you really love Mendoza and the Raiders want to trade out and we're going to 1. And even that I probably would not do myself. But the Jets might do that deal. I mean, we just have too many holes. We can't have Braden McGregor on this team anymore. We can't have Mozzie Smith really on this team anymore. We can't have, all of these bums on this team anymore. That's another good thing about these people getting fired. Not that I want people to be fired, but these people didn't do a good job, and they didn't, the thing that coaches really need to do is evaluate talent. That may seem odd because you may say, well, that's what scouts do. But coaches need to evaluate talent to know who on their team is good enough to work in their system and who is not, and who, like a scout will say, well, coach, we have a chance to get these 3 guys. There's 3 guys in the league, in the NFL, let's say, that we could trade for that are going to get waived. We have a shot at getting these 3. Which one is best? Which one would, if we could get all of them, but if we could get only one of these 3, which one would be number 1? Which one would be number 2? Which one would be number 3? And the coach needs to get that right so that if the number 1 guy's available, he comes in and he's good and he doesn't suck. That's how scouting and coaching go hand in hand. If you ask people, what is Coach Cignetti? How did Coach Cignetti turn Indiana around? I don't understand what happened there. The main thing he did was talent evaluation, to know which guys he needed to run his system his way and make it successful. He didn't need all the 5 stars. He didn't need all the 4 stars. He needed certain kinds of players in certain kinds of spots to play a certain kind of way, and that will win. And guess what? It worked. And that's coaching. He's a coach. He's not a scout. But coaches need to be watching film all the time. They need to be film junkies, and they need to be figuring out what's working on their team, what's not, who's screwing up, why are they screwing up, can we fix it? Yes, then fix it. If no, get them the fuck out of here, and let's get somebody else in here who can do the job. Period. So these guys who got fired today obviously didn't do a good job that way, because we acquired, as I told you in the summertime, we were acquiring bums for defensive tackles that were not good enough, and I knew it, and these guys didn't. That tells you they're no bueno. Because if I can tell from the outside that, Derek Noddy and Jay Tufele and Byron Cowart, for example, are not good enough, and I knew it as soon as they were signed. I came on the air and told you guys live. The thing said, emergency broadcast, Darren Muji making terrible mistakes in free agency signings. As it happened, I told you, if I can tell you that, that doesn't bode well for fucking Washington and Curry and these people. Because I shouldn't be able to tell better than they are telling you. Those guys should have said, no, we can't sign those people, Mooch. No. No. Maybe one of them, but certainly not all 3. What the hell are we doing? No. So there you go. It's just more validation for what I was telling you guys in the summertime. I don't know how much more validation you need to know that I know at least the basics of what the hell is going on. Because this is confirmation of that. Because the coaches have input to personnel, and personnel is the most important thing. Murph says, I'm hoping the GM and AG pull a few rabbits out of the hat. Leave no rock unturned. I mean, I did a free agency video, Murph. We don't even need rabbits and hats. There's 8 guys that are very gettable at gettable prices that we can afford and that should come here, no problem. That will help turn the whole team around. And the big question mark there, of course, will be Willis, the quarterback. But then we just have 4 guys in the top. Then we don't need a quarterback in the draft, and we use our 4 draft picks on defense. And now the defense is turning around because there's a lot better personnel on it. I don't even need a rabbit and a hat, Murph. We don't need no stinking jackrabbit around here. All we need is people who know what type of players to go and get. And hopefully Wink Martindale knows that. But I would bet that it's going to be Wink, guys. I just, it hasn't been announced yet because we got to wait to interview Leonard next week, but Jimmy Leonard's going to have other opportunities, I think. Like in his mind, Glenn probably thinks, all right, it's Leonard 1, Wink 2, these other guys, whatever. But he probably knows Leonard's going to go be the DC in Green Bay or somewhere else, one of these other staffs. And so then if Wink's number 2 and we can't get Leonard, well, then it's Wink. And that's it. And I think some of these reporters are getting a little antsy, and they're just putting out an opinion, which is not reporting, but it's an informed, sourced opinion. You got to read through the lines. Breaking news as of 12 minutes ago from Rich Cimini. Rub It In Rich reports from the Atlanta Falcons. We have completed an interview with Joe Douglas for our general manager opening. So Joe Douglas gets another interview. Good for Joe. I would feel bad for Atlanta Falcon fans if they got Joe Douglas as a GM because while he made some good moves and had some good drafts and some good draft picks, overall body of work, no bueno. But Joe Douglas, hey, take a look. Phil says, and that quitter from NEP. Yeah, Chooks. Well, and look, Chooks, he's gone, but yeah, why did we sign him? I mean, this is a good point by Phil, actually. What was the philosophy for signing Chooks Okorafor? I never understood that. Now, he was on the team the whole year. He didn't cause any problems, and he played on special teams, blocking for field goals and stuff. Wasn't forced into action. But what was the fucking theory of that? And maybe that was a big Eric Washington move. Maybe Eric Washington was pounding the table for Chooks Okorafor. I didn't like that move. It didn't come back to haunt us. But because basically we got lucky with injuries for the offensive line other than AVT. But that was not a good move at all. That was a terrible move. Just because it didn't come back to haunt us doesn't mean it was a good move. No, it was a terrible move. I said it at the time, and it's true. There was no reason to make that signing. Now, maybe Eric Washington really wanted that guy. Or, well, he's the D-line coach, but maybe Scott Turner wanted that guy. I don't know. I don't know who on the staff would be pounding the table for fucking Chooks Okorafor, but it was another mistake. Again, didn't come back to haunt us, but it was not a good move. So, hopefully, though, this is the beginning of the correction. Glenn sees where he screwed up. He seems like these are the right people to fire, to be honest with you. And it seems like he got that right. Now we'll see who they get to replace them. But the DC will come first. It'll be Wink, and then we'll see who Wink brings in. In fact, what we should do is use AI to determine who was on Wink Martindale's staff at Michigan. Maybe those people are available. Aha. Wait a minute. Let's type this in. Who were the assistant defensive coaches at University of Michigan under defensive coordinator Wink Martindale? If anybody knows, let me know in the chat, because maybe he'll probably want to bring in some of his own dudes, and some of these Michigan guys. Steve Clinksdale, defensive backs. This didn't really give me a great answer other than Steve Clinkscale, defensive backs. Well, I don't know. But hopefully this idea of the reorganization part that Aaron Wilson is reporting, and it's funny that Aaron Wilson was the first one to report this, not one of our beat reporters. But what offensive coach is going to be reassigned? I would think perhaps Steve Hyden will move to the tight end coach. Jeff Blasco would move to assistant tight end coach and maybe assistant tight end / assistant running back or something. And then maybe we're getting a new offensive line coach. That would be fantastic. Especially if it's Coach Ledyard. That would be fantastic. So we'll have to see. About that. All right. Any other breaking news? A+, Frankie, you're the best. We need FSPN t-shirts. Yeah, I'm not good with merch, I got to tell you. Anybody wants to start a merch store, hit me up. I don't have time to do it. You could make 15%. So Joe Blewett responds as of 7 minutes ago, Charles London is gone in all caps. Please bring in somebody who's had a hand in developing anything at all at quarterback. Linebackers severely underperformed, so Curry makes a ton of sense as well. Well, I really think Steve Wilks was doing something really strange with the defensive line, to be honest with you. And the reason I think that is because of the stance change with Quinnen Williams. He changed Quinnen Williams' stance to something that was more designed to be a read-react stance, which is more of a run-stopping stance, which is more of a two-gap stance. But yet we were running a 4-3. So if you remember in the summertime, I told you it's possible that Steve Wilks is going to run some sort of hybrid weird system where we have 4 down linemen, but we line them up such that it's really more like a 3-4 with a random defensive end, Jermaine, on the end. And that really makes no fucking sense unless you're going to run a bare front or just a straight 3-4. So it seemed like Wilks was trying to run some sort of hybrid bullshit that obviously didn't work, but I told you could be possible and that it could work. I mean, the idea, I said it several times, maybe Wilks has something up his sleeve that's really innovative and, I don't know, nobody's ever fucking done before, and maybe it'll work. Well, obviously nobody ever did it before, and it didn't work because the stance you changed for Quinnen Williams to make him into a two-gapper or whatever you were doing with him obviously was fucked up, because as soon as he got to the Dallas Cowboys, Aaron Whitecotton, who used to be our defensive line coach, is their defensive line coach in Dallas, and he changed him back to his other stance, his regular old stance, and he started all of a sudden pressuring the quarterback like a maniac like he normally does. So basically, you took our best defensive player and fucked him up. Good job, coach! Hey! Let's take an all-pro fucking guy and turn him into a shitbag. Woohoo! That's coaching. No, that's the opposite of coaching, coach. That's being a shitbird. So something was very, very wrong. And look, you can blame Aaron Glenn all you want. He's a defensive guy. He's going to fix. I think he put too much trust in Wilks, and okay, he made a fucking mistake. Clearly. He clearly made a mistake. And he fired his ass as soon as it was clear that whatever Wilks was selling him was a bunch of bullshit. And now we're seeing the rest of the staff who were responsible for all this got the heave-ho. So let's just hope that Aaron Glenn is able to recognize mistakes and do some of the things we were hoping he was going to do last year. Maybe he will do them this year. In other words, get coaches who are aligned with his vision, then get the players who are aligned with his vision and can do the things he wants to do and that make more sense, including more ex-Lions, which makes a lot of sense. You had success with these people. Bring them here. Every coach does this in the world. Brings his people here to wherever he goes. You can be sure as shit that fucking Saleh is going to bring a ton of 49ers over there. You know, this is what all the coaches do. There's going to be a pipeline from the 49ers, San Francisco to Tennessee. All these defensive people are going right to Tennessee with Saleh. This is what they do. Jeff Ulbricht's probably bringing Quincy to Atlanta. You know, this is what they do. But we didn't bring in one fucking lion at all. Nobody to translate the system, blah, blah, blah. And probably because he just relied on Wilkes, and Wilkes probably sold him on some fucking bullshit. Oh, we're going to run an innovative whatever. Whatever the hell he must have told him. I don't know what, but something. And the flaw in the thinking was, I'm going to just trust Wilkes. Well, you better have your fingerprints all over this defense, Mr. Glenn, because it's pretty embarrassing to have the 31st ranked defense and you're a defensive head coach. No bueno. No bueno. Phil Adams, there's a Michigan edge at 100 and linebacker in the draft. Old Winky will know them well enough. Yeah, that's true. And also, all of the players that he recruited that came through, that didn't come through, that they looked at, that went to other teams, plus all the teams that they played in the Big Ten, you know, looking at film at all these kids. So that's another advantage. Yeah, he's been in the Big Ten for a long time. He's going to know about the Ohio State kids. You know, on offense, he had to scheme against Ohio State and Indiana and, Oregon and all the Big Ten schools and all the rest of the teams that they played there. So he's going to know about all those guys. That's another reason to hire Wink, and that's another difference with Wilkes. Steve Wilkes' previous experience before he came to us was fucking Charlotte, the Charlotte 49ers. I don't even know what league they're in. Whereas Wink went to one of the biggest schools on earth, Michigan, where he's looking at not only recruiting kids to Michigan, but playing against some of the best competition in the league, Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, you name it, all the Big Ten schools. So that's another advantage and another difference between Wilkes and Wink. Yes, they're W names, but listen, Badlands people, they're not the same. And you better get used to Wink being the guy, because all of these reporters are leaving little hints and clues. On it. And yet the Badlands people want to pre-shit on Wink Martindale. Doesn't make any sense. Guy's had a lot of success in the NFL. Not a neophyte, and looks like he wants to come here. I mean, you know. Joe Mike, Reeves, Bain, Bailey. I'm taking Bailey. Imagine him on Miami, Florida. He would have had 20 sacks. Bailey's really good. The problem with him is he's not going to play the run for you. Stud City says the latest about Tanner. Well, let's see. Aaron Wilson. Yeah, this is what he said 27 minutes ago. Jets offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand remains on Aaron Glenn's staff per league sources, while role, responsibility, structure of 29th ranked total scoring offense expected to change and still being defined. Well, I don't know what that means. Oh, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I mean, what could it mean? He's the offensive coordinator. They're going to bring somebody else in as the OC and bump him down to passing game coordinator or something. So I don't know. That's a little too vague for me and seems speculative. So we'll have to see. The Jet beat reporters are not saying anything about it. Aaron Wilson is quoting league sources. League sources can mean anything. League sources is what reporters say when they can't reveal where they're getting their information from, because league sources is so vague that you can't tell whether it's somebody from the Jets, somebody from an opposing team, an agent. You have no idea. And so they use league sources as a vague way to say this is sourced, but we're not going to reveal what type of source it is. So we'll see. None of the Jet beat reporters are saying anything else. I would think Engstrand remains and Engstrand stays in the same job, but that, maybe we get a different, we're certainly going to, almost certainly going to get a different passing game coordinator. And so I don't know. We'll see. All right. So that'll do it for tonight. Breaking news here on FSPN. We got a lot of Jet news. I was going to say there's not enough Jet news. And what's funny is if I would have recorded a video, I would have been posting the video and then the news would have broke. Ab Lab. Ty Simpson at 16 in the first round. For me, there's a lot of risk with Ty Simpson. First round's a little too rich for my blood. Simply because he could be good, he could be bad, but there's a lot of risk with that kid. He only has 15 games started in college. There's very few examples of somebody succeeding with that few games, and his tape is all over the place. He started out really good, then the end of the season he played really poorly. So what is he? We don't know. So if you're going to go for Ty Simpson, then you would want to do it in the second round if you could. But with the dearth of quarterbacks, he's probably going in the first round. So I would say we're probably not going to be in on him. But he definitely has a chance to be good, because if he plays in the NFL like he played in the first half of the year, then he's going to be a good quarterback. If he plays in the NFL like he did the second half of the year, then he's going to be out of the league in 3 years. So what the hell is he? And for the Jets, I just don't think we have a lot of time to take a chance like that. So to me, you sign 2 free agents, and then this way you build up the defense with your first 4 picks. You sign a quarterback or 2, probably I would prefer 2, for just money, while you're building up the team. That way you're not wasting a first-round pick on a quarterback that might not work out. This way, if the quarterback for just money doesn't work out, you've built up the team to a point where you have a lot of talent now, and then next year we go after it. And the way I would do it is I would have 2 free agent quarterbacks. So if the first one doesn't work out and is playing poorly in the first half of the year, go to the second one. Hopefully he works out better. If not, well, then it's going to be rough. But if Glenn survives it, or even if he doesn't, then we have 3 picks in 27 to get a quarterback then. So in other words, I wouldn't risk it with Ty Simpson at 16. Now, if you're telling me we could get him at 33, that's better, but I still want to improve this defense significantly. And with Simpson, there's just a lot of risk involved. And he might turn out to be a good quarterback, because he's definitely shown that in college. Phil Adams, he might even get a real quarterback. Ablab says agreed. All right. It's just like that was the problem with Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas is in the news now. He just did an interview with the Falcons. If I were the Falcons, I would have asked Joe Douglas, how did you do your assessment of the Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson situation? And when he would have explained to them how he did that, I would say, get the fuck out of here. Because that is stupid. It's not that we took Zach Wilson. It was that our formula for how we did the evaluation was so stupid, unbelievably stupid, as reported by Country Club Connor Hughes, relying on his reporting. And that should disqualify Joe Douglas for any general manager job in the future. Now, an AGM, an assistant general manager where you're helping, where you're just doing scouting reports and filing them, okay, fine. But that was so unbelievably dumb, what he did, that it is really concerning, or I would say really risky. He took a gigantic risk for it was almost like he bought a lottery ticket and then just was like, well, I might starve, but I got this lottery ticket, and if this lottery ticket hits, we'll be swimming in caviar, but if it doesn't, we're going to be out on the street starving to death. But I got this lottery ticket. And it's like that's pretty risky. You're risking your whole life on hitting the lottery? What? That doesn't make any sense. So that's essentially what he did. Ugh. So I don't know. If any team hires Joe Douglas, I wish them well, but I just don't know how Joe Douglas is going to get around that question. And then the next question would be, what the fuck happened with John Franklin Myers, Joe? And that one he could blame on Woody, I guess. Well, Woody only told me I could spend X amount, and then I thought I was going to replace his production with Hassan Reddick. Oh, but didn't you know he was a malcontent? He was unhappy with the Eagles. Well, he's going to be happy all of a sudden with the Jets? Well, what is he going to say to these things? I don't think that interview is going to go too well. But then again, maybe he could make up a lie for what happened with Zach Wilson. I don't know. But just tell them Woody told me to take him. Just blame Woody Johnson. I wanted to trade that pick all day long, but Woody Johnson told me to take Zach Wilson. yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. So, but that's the problem. You have to weigh in the risk. So it's not that Ty Simpson definitely won't be good. He could be good. He's shown a lot of promise. And when he was going good, it was looking really good. So you might hit on him. But for the Jets, I just think if you're going to take a risk, you got to do it with just money, because the opportunity cost is high. With that 16th pick, you could get Mekhi Lemon. You could get all these people that we've been drafting in the mock drafts. Caden McDonald. You could get Sonny Styles might fall to you. You could get a really good player there. Why are you going to risk not getting that player and then taking a flyer on a kid who just has been too inconsistent in his 15 games started? If Ty Simpson had played the year before and put 13 or 14 really solid games on tape, and then they started this year and he started off great and then fell off, you would have a really big body of work and say, well, obviously it was the injuries and it was his circumstances, and they couldn't run the ball and they didn't have an offensive line and da-da-da. Because you have a big catalog and inventory of games, a much bigger one, of him being really good. But he didn't do that. He wanted to show loyalty to Alabama, and he sat behind fucking Jalen Milroe, which is a gigantic mistake for his career. And now you only have these 15 games, and it's very uneven. So what the hell is this kid? So that being the case, I don't think you can spend a first-round pick on him. However, if they did, I'll be rooting for him, and I do like him, and I do think he's a good kid and all this stuff. His father's a head coach, so he's been coached his whole life and all that good stuff. But I just don't know. I just don't know what I'm getting. And if you don't know what you're getting, just like with Zach Wilson, we didn't know what we were getting because it was the COVID year and he didn't play high-level competition, and he was playing in front of empty stadiums, and it was just a weird time. So you cannot take that risk with the number 2 overall pick. If Zach Wilson were available in the middle of the second round, okay, go for it. But to take the number 2 overall pick with that, and especially with as much as we could have gotten in a trade, holy smokes, was that a mistake. Wow. Whew. And that's how you put a franchise in a hole. That's how that works. Hi Karate, where have you been? We broke this news on this channel, Hi Karate. We already talked about this, Karate. Okay, it seems like we got to go over this again. You guys got to fucking pay attention. As of now, 1 hour ago, we broke it live here on FSPN, people. As Zach Rosenblatt quote tweeted Aaron Wilson. Let's just read Aaron Wilson's quote. He was the one who had it. Aaron Wilson, NFL reporter Aaron Wilson. Here's the quote. Jets move on from several assistant coaches, including Charles London, defensive line coach Eric Washington, defensive assistant Roosevelt Williams, passing game coordinator Scott Turner, linebacker coach Aaron Curry, defensive assistant Alonso Escalante, per NFL sources. Aaron Wilson is hearing they will reassign at least one other offensive coach who was retained by Aaron Glenn. We don't know what that is. Aaron Wilson then later said the following. Jets offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand remains on Aaron Glenn's staff, per league sources, while role, responsibilities, structure of the offense expected to change and still being defined. So that's pretty vague, and that comes from league sources, and league sources means anything you want it to mean. It's a vague term that reporters use that is meant to hide who is giving them the information, even more than per sources or per team sources. League sources means could be anybody. Could be somebody in the league office, could be somebody on the Jets, but they don't want to reveal it's somebody on the Jets, could be an opposing team, could be agents, but they don't want to reveal it's agents, so they use the words league sources. So that is what's going on. We reported this live an hour ago. Where the hell were you people? You're supposed to be watching the FSPN 24/7. What is going on? Ablab says good. Joe Mike, question number 3 for Joe D. Why did you just hand the job to Zachy Poo? Well, that was more of a coaching decision. So that's not on Douglas, although I'm sure he had his opinions. That's more on Saleh. So that's a question for Saleh. Like when Saleh had to go down to Tennessee and they had to have a plan for Cam Ward. What's your plan for Cam Ward? Because you fucked up Zach Wilson, Saleh. And maybe he said, well, I learned from that experience that you need a qualified backup. I mean, Saleh is the ultimate politician who's actually a fraud, but that's a question for Robert Saleh. And maybe, and he has a built-in excuse. If you remember, the quarterback coach fucking died. So we're the only team that has coaches up and die on us when they're supposed to be coaching these young kids. Now, that doesn't mean you don't also should have a veteran, but that he could say, well, I had this great QB coach. I didn't think I needed a veteran because this QB coach was top notch. I forget the coach's name at the moment. But he, so that was the plan. And then he died. He unexpectedly died. Oh, that's terrible. So he does have an excuse built in, but I wouldn't have bought that. But you know what happened in Tennessee? The owner is Amy Adams Strunk, and you know what happened? Saleh got in there, and she got all of her female fifis going. Saleh's tall, dark, and handsome, and muscle-bound, with a deep voice, all the things the ladies like. And I think she got her fifis going, and she was like, let's hire this guy. He knows what he's talking about, right, Borgonzi? And Borgonzi was like looking at her, and she had kaleidoscopes in her eyes. And he was like, yes, ma'am. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. And Saleh must have walked out of there and been like, these people are fucking idiots. Give me $15 million because I'm fucking handsome and muscular. Oh, baby. This is a weird world we're living in, people. Hey, Ablab joined. All right. Thank you, Ablab. Yeah, and other people should join because, you get incredible information. I was going to go live today and just do a quick live. We've been on air for a long time now. I forget when we started. When the hell did we start this damn thing? Have we been on the air for 2.5 hours? That can't be right. Holy shit. But anyway, people should join the inner circle, the inner square, the inner triangle. We got 3 different levels, just like Ablab just did. Because you're going to get exclusive information. Ablab, go to the posts tab of this YouTube channel, and you're going to see all of the exclusive information for the members that has been posted there by yours truly. It's some really great stuff. And the lowest level is $2 a month. You can't support old Frankie with $2 a month? Come on. I don't have producers. I don't have executive assistants. I don't have butlers and maids like Country Club Connor does. I don't have, he probably has a fucking, butler to wipe his ass when he takes a dump. I ain't got none of that. I don't have any golf clubs. You think I'm going golfing? You see Frankie on the golf course? I don't think so. But guess who you do see out there? Oh, Country Club Connor. So, $2 a month, we appreciate that. Stud City, it's crazy. The Titans want, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just one game, but how can you look at his entire tenure as a Jets coach? And then also, he goes to the 49ers. They spend their entire draft on defense. They get free agents, trades, everything for defense. Now, they did have a lot of injuries. Okay, that's true. But, you need a coach when you, in unideal situations, not when everything's perfect. You don't need a coach when everything is fucking perfect. You need a coach when everything's imperfect. But they watched him have a 21st ranked defense per DVOA, and the entire Jets tenure, which 2 of the years the defense was terrible, 2 of the years it was top 10. All right. When he had the players, we were good. When he didn't have the players, we were bad. So why do I need a coach? Just get the good players. Anybody can coach really good players. Those are the questions I would ask Saleh, not about Zach Wilson and the veteran quarterback. I would say, why am I going to pay you $15 million when it seems like your defenses are good when you have really good players available, and when you don't have really good players, the defense sucks? Where's the coaching there? Anybody can coach elite players. Fred Warner doesn't need a lot of coaching. You know what I'm saying? So why am I going to pay you all this money? Yeah, sure, you're tall, dark, and handsome. You're very muscular, and you have a nice, deep voice. Okay, am I going to give you $15 million for that? Well, if you're Amy Adams Strunk, you do, because you get your fifis going. But really, objectively, that's the question to ask, not about Zach Wilson's backup. It's really Joe Douglas. Why the fuck did you draft this guy? There's so much risk in his profile. He was a boomer bust, candidate. He was a boomer bust prospect. And you're taking a boomer bust. You could have traded that pick to the 49ers for a shitload of picks. You could have set the fucking franchise up for years. And instead, you went for the boom or bust prospect. Crazy. That's a crazy decision. And you did it with the number 2. Go for the boom or bust prospect in the 3rd round when it's not so consequential. That's really amazing. It's amazing. And not only that, with the Titans, you had Robert Saleh there already. His name was Mike Vrabel. You had Mike Vrabel, who basically is Robert Saleh, except actually successful. He's basically like Robert Saleh, but good. The good Robert Saleh. You had him there. You fire his ass. You go through a bunch of crap, and then you need a new coach now. So let's bring in the bad version of Mike Vrabel, named Robert Saleh. What? What is that? I mean, if I were a Titan fan, I'd be pissed. I'd be fucking pissed. You got to be kidding me. We got Cam Ward here. We got a quarterback. We got high picks in the draft. This is the best we could do. This guy who can't even coach a defense unless they have elite players everywhere? What? What is this? I don't know. We live in a weird world, man. We live in a weird world. Yeah, all gas, no brakes. What's your slogan? All gas, no brakes. So we're not going to stop at any time. We're not going to slow down. We're just going to all gas. We're going to go right through the wall. I mean, sometimes you got to slow down. Chill out. It can't be all gas. What if you run out of gas? Then what? 1:30 in the morning in England. Yeah, I know, Joe Mike. He said he blocked a lot of people, which shows you how thin-skinned he really is, right? What a joke this guy is. It's such a shame that we have to suffer through these gigantic assholes as beat reporters. And you wonder why. You wonder if it's just the instructions that they get from their bosses, or they just know certain types of negative content is what gets clicks, and therefore that's what's going to save their jobs, or if they just get directives from their editors. I don't know. Or if they're just sick and tired of covering a losing team, which it's like, okay, well, maybe time for retirement, like rub it in Rich. Cimini, he could retire. I mean, why doesn't he just retire? He's 62 years old. What is he hanging on for? The other two are young, but hey. All muscle, no coaching. Yeah. I mean, he's good at lifting weights. That we know. He's very good at lifting weights and running the stairs on the stadium. I mean, he's very good at that. Excellent. He's in excellent shape for a man his age. And he's very tall, and he's quite handsome, and he's very muscular. So, I mean, that's good. But the man does have 7 children. I don't, he probably should, probably worry more about coaching than keeping in shape. I mean, he already has 7 children. All right. Well, we've been on the air for a long time, but that's because breaking news occurred while we were on the air about the Jets. The other big news of the day seems to be what's going on between Dabo Swinney and Ole Miss, Pete Golding. So we got to see what happens there. Looks like Pete Golding of Ole Miss was trying to steal one of his guys who had already signed to stay at Clemson. That's no bueno. That sort of stuff's going to have to get sorted out. Jordan Seaton is the number one person in the portal. He's an offensive lineman, and it looks like he's going to LSU based on this tweet by Lane Kiffin. What's amazing is you can get tweets by Lane Kiffin. You can find out what's going on in Lane Kiffin's mind these days. Didn't used to be able to. But it looks like LSU might be recruiting the top offensive lineman in this transfer portal period. We'll find out in 4 minutes. And, as we're following more and more of these colleges, let's see what the Badlands people think about this. Here's Joe Trasheroso. This is what he put out. I am going to wait and see the final offensive structure and the DC hire before any massive proclamations, misspelled, but I think demoting Tanner, if true, is surprising, misspelled, and theoretically should come with a senior hire they locked up already that should be somewhat of a tell to their quarterback plans this offseason. I don't know how they would have locked up the senior hire already. Maybe they did. They've been keeping everything secret. But then he says the rest of the coaches were quite bad, and we all expected them to be gone. The Jets linebackers and D-line were the least fundamentally misspelled sound players I've watched in my life outside of Briggs and Harry. True. The London hire was suspect from day one. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but obviously not an ideal reflection on Glenn that he needed to make this many changes after year one, although it is good he is making changes and not, that's a misspell again, not being stubborn with his guys. Full picture will matter, but I expect the benefit of the doubt not to be given in short term, or maybe ever. What? What does that mean? Why is this guy such a retard? The reason I have to pay attention to this guy is because there's a lot of you out there who are Badlands people, and you're basically, instead of absorbing stuff from the mainstream media, you absorb stuff from Joe Trasheroso. And so I got to pay attention because a lot of you come in here with questions that come from Joe Trasheroso's things. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So I got to keep an eye on it, even though I would prefer not to. Half of this is retarded, half of it's just obvious. I would prefer not to demote Tanner Engstrand, but shoot, man. Like, who could we be bringing in? Like, are we going to bring in the passing coordinator from Green Bay, meaning that we're going to bring in a Malik Willis, confidant? Like, let's look at the Green Bay Packers staff. Like maybe we interviewed a bunch of people for on the offensive side already that nobody reported, which would seem weird. Coaches. Matt LaFleur, offense, like Stenovich couldn't come here. Connor Lewis, pass game specialist, game management, Connor Lewis. I've never heard of him. Quarterbacks coach, Sean Mannion. So that's a guy who's very inexperienced. He used to be he was just a quarterback. Now he's getting into coaching, Sean Mannion. We're not going to bring in passing game coordinator, Jason Vrabel. Well, there's a Vrabel. So the idea would be maybe we interviewed one of these guys and they're going to come in. Um, that would be surprising. It would have to be either Luke Getzey, who's one of their senior assistants, name a few cycles ago kind of fell out of favor, or Connor Lewis, pass game specialist, game management, or pass game coordinator Jason Vrabel would be, or Sean Mannion. Sean Mannion would be surprising. He's been a coach for like 5 seconds. So that's the only thing that makes any kind of connective sense. Because who else would you be bringing in that you would shuffle around the staff for other than Malik Willis? You're not going to do that for, for Cousins, right? So anyway, yeah. The basic thing is let's see what the full staff looks like before we make any judgments. But let's see where Jordan Seaton went. I'm curious. It was 11 minutes ago. He said it was going to be. Oh, but it's on Instagram. Sometimes you got to go to Instagram to see these people. He's trying to build up his Instagram. At J Seat. Jordan Seaton. Well, he has not made the announcement. If you say you're going to announce something in 10 minutes, you should do it, Mr. Seaton. For God's sake, man. This guy's nickname is the franchise. All right, well, I guess we're not getting that. But anyway, yeah, let's look at let's look at the totality of the situation once we know it, because this is kind of like a reset. I think this is Aaron Glenn understanding he's got 1, maybe 2 years, and he's got to get this right. So he's had a year to learn. He said he's had a year to learn. I think he came in with a lot of bluster and a lot of confidence and a lot of stuff. But now, it was a different tone in that end of year presser with Muji. It was a totally different tone. Oh, I learned a lot. I'm a lot different now, and back then he was implying that he didn't know what he knows now. So he's setting his staff. All right, well, we just gotta hope he gets this right. Hopefully, it's Chad Pennington as QB coach. Other than that, I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know what this restructure of Tanner Engstrand's duties is going to be, but that is a rumor as reported by Aaron Wilson. Aaron Wilson, he's generally good on transactions, rumors, and league sources. I think he's a little shoddy. So I would take that with a grain of salt. We'll have to see how it works out. Stud City says the insurance. I don't know what you're talking about, Stud City. Journalists hate being laughed at or being made fun of. Yeah, well, that's what we do here. Stud City says John Morton. Well, John Morton just got fired from the Lions for doing a terrible job, so I would say no. I would say no. It just seems like just keep Tanner Engstrand. What do you need John Morton for? He couldn't make it work with all the weapons they have there. Gonna come here and make it work? Well, nothing on Jordan Seaton just yet. And we're not going to wait, Mr. Seaton. We got things to do. We've already been on air for over 2.5 fucking hours. You never know when Jet News is going to break. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining. One last check. Rich Cimini is still working for the insurance. For what insurance? He can claim Medicare in a couple of years, and you can be on. There's lots of different things you can do. Health insurance. Uh, all right. So yeah, it doesn't seem like anything more, but boy, we got a lot of news just when we thought we wouldn't. Health insurance, yeah, there's a lot of things you could do for health insurance, and plus he's only 3 years away from qualifying for Medicare. That's a weird one. I'm going to keep working doing a job I hate for the health insurance. Yeah. Then again, a lot of these people really should have gone into the military because you can get lifetime insurance through the VA, just like old Frankie. Thank you for joining me. We're glad to bring some news at you this Friday. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel or give the video a thumbs up. The thumbs up on the video really helps. Please give a thumbs up. Or like AbLab, join the Inner Circle. It's $2 a month. For $2 a month, you get exclusive posts that I post on the post tab with lots of information. You get access to the famous Frankie spreadsheets. You get access to the quarterback evaluation system of all the college quarterbacks that I do and all of that stuff. So why wouldn't you spend $2 a month to support FSPN? If you hate ESPN, you hate the mainstream media, but you won't give Frankie $2 a month, what are we doing? How about a little support for old Frankie? Would appreciate it. And I'll see you guys for coffee